Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Two in the Chamber. It's been a hot minute, I gotta say. I think it's been about a month since the last episode, and before then we had barely had any of the rosters, to be perfectly honest. Now we have a lot to talk about. We've been up to quite a bit as well in the last month or so, so I guess we can kind of essentially start from the beginning. But before we do any of that, Twiggy, the man, the myth, how you doing, brother? It's been a long time. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah. It's been a while. I've been religiously trying to keep up with everything and putting it on our little Google Doc, and there's a lot of stuff to go through, but things are going well. We're all good.
We love to see it. Of course, I mean, update me what you've been up to. It's been a month since the last episode. I think last time we spoke, you hadn't released anything what you were doing. You were booked onto stuff, but you hadn't given out any secrets. What have you been doing? What have you been doing?
Well, I think the main one was the Red Bull Campus Clock 3 regional finals for the UK. That was a big one. And it was very good. It was very fun. It was we were looked after very nicely by Red Bull. Who won? What was their name? That's the thing. It's always this. No. Because the thing is, they always just come up with the most. It was Casa Natura, like Casa, like Nocturna, right? Nocturna, the Latin word, but spelled very wrong. And we had a whole conversation about this before the event started with the production team. We were like, that is not.
It's not how you spell it,
correct. And they were like, that's their name. So there you go. Players I know from it: Smile. Hypers.
Oh, I love Hypers. Welsh dude, super nice guy. Yeah. Really, really good at the game as well. I mean, I've casted him when he was like, I'm pretty sure he was like a uni student. And he was like very early doors in his career, like just after beta. I'm glad to see he's still kicking. Did they win as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they won. They're the ones going to Sao Paulo. Kind of wild.
That's crazy. I mean, credit to Hypers, man. That guy's been. I've kind of followed his story like just on the fringe. Like I follow him on Twitter and see his stuff. So I'm glad to see he's still kicking. That's good to see.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, okay. I was looking at some of the other like regional finals, right, and I was like, the grand finals were like 13-1 and everything like that. It was just super. You know, there's one good student team in the country, and the rest of it, you know, it is what it is. But the UK actually really competitive. All four teams there actually really, really were going at each other. The finals were 2-0, but I think the maps were like 13-10 both times. So
fair play.
Very good. Yeah.
That sounds decent. And it was in London, right?
Brilliant. Yeah. We were in the Red Bull Gaming Sphere in
Shoreditch.
Shoreditch.
Yeah, it's not bad there. Really nice. It's not too shabby. It's all right. No, it's small compared to some of the other ones, but it's nice to have one. I mean, it's right next to the guild building as well, so it's pretty cool.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to their one in Copenhagen, but it is absolutely bonkers. It's like basically they have about 1,000 PCs or something stupid. It's like it's nuts, and it's like it's an entire like warehouse building basically with just everything, and they've got like They've got so much going on. And in Sweden, they got another one in Stockholm, exactly the same. It's massive, and they got like a booth thing, which is all the NIP like CS:GO players. Like they're the only ones who are allowed to use those computers. They're like in their booth. Yeah. They're locked away, and they have a picture in front of them, and only that person, so like Freiburg, for example, can log on. So pretty nuts. So hopefully, one day maybe Red Bull expand in London. But I think London is quite tough to find a big enough area like that, basically.
Yeah.
But good to hear, man. Good to hear. And then. You did a bit of Superdome as well, didn't you?
Yes, we did part of the group stages of the Superdome. It was good. I mean, long days.
Jesus, man,
I could say rough. A lot about how they told us it was going to be about 6 hours a day, and it wasn't. It was about 12 hours a day, but I won't go into that. That's fine.
I heard from Pavlos,
That's the kind of shit we have to deal with as broadcast talent and production members. That's fine. That is what it is. Not quite sure the pay was worth 12 hours a day, but hey, here you go.
It sounded rough. Like
it was a good tournament.
So I got asked to be on that as well. But I was in Copenhagen with Blast, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I remember, so we were on this semi-final day, I think. So the second to last day. And we were kind of saying, all right, there's a Superdome event on. Some pretty decent teams. I think Fnatic were playing, if I'm right in saying.
Fnatic and Ascend were there.
Yeah. So, some fairly decent teams there. We're like, okay, we'll try and check it out. Click on the stream. It's about maybe an hour in or 2 hours in, something like that. So we were in the green room. I think we started at like, I don't know. We had a break or whatever. So we were all having dinner, all us in the green room. So, me, Tombiz, Mitch Mann, Kakuka, Gio, Ian, and Mitch, Tom, Gio, Ian, Kakuka, Ryan Central. That's the last one I'm saying. There we go. So anyway, so we were all in the green room. We're like, yeah, let's go check it out. You know, Fnatic are meant to be playing. Fnatic are meant to have started an hour and a half ago. They might even be done with their game. Check on it.
No.
Nothing's happened. We're like, what's going on here? So everyone was like, anyone know what's going on with Superdome? And I was saying like, I've been asked to work on it, and this is what we were told, the schedule and stuff. Like, I got sent all the schedule. But then obviously I couldn't do it because I was in Copenhagen. But I was like, I'm pretty sure Pavlos is casting. He tweeted like, I'm casting like now or whatever. I saw it like an hour and a bit ago. So I was like, I'll check in with Pavlos. But for those at home, Pavlos is ex-Warrior. You know, VCT caster and a lot of the APAC stuff as well. So I drop him a message on Snapchat. I'm like, Pavlos, mate, what's going on? Like, why? I thought the game was meant to start like an hour and a half ago. He's like, we've just been sitting here, brother.
About 40-minute breaks because...
Yeah, because basically it was stuff in the arena, right? Is that what I'm getting? Is that, like, the arena wasn't working, so it meant that the game should start?
No, everything was working. They just wanted 40-minute breaks so they could talk on the desk for a long time.
40 minutes on the desk?
Yeah, they just...
Oh, the poor
they
sods
didn't
on
have
the
breaks.
Desk. Who was on the desk?
I know... can't remember his name now.
Were they from Egypt?
Well, yeah. They were all Arabic casters. I think one of the ones was Tuxedo. Tuxedo. He's been on
like I know
EMEA VCT.
Yeah.
But
so was it all in Arabic in like there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do like the English like dub essentially.
Yeah. What they didn't tell us is that they love to talk. Like their desk is constantly going through those breaks. I don't know how they have the energy to do that.
Fair play.
Like 12 hours
minutes as well.
Not stopping. I don't know what they were talking about.
I hope they got paid well. Because goddamn, that is a long old day. To do 40-minute desk segments for 12 hours a day, I mean, that is
Tuxedo, brutal. I think, had told us at some point, I can't remember, I think it was Ginny that was talking to Tuxedo about it, and he said that that's just how Arabic broadcasts are. Like,
to be fair,
they go for a long time. They're used to talking a lot. It's just wild.
I did a FIFA gig about 7 months ago in Qatar. And same thing. Like they're showmen. Like they know. Like the Arabic people know how to have these like massive events. I mean, this was a huge it was like 5,000 people LAN event kind of thing. But that's some FIFA tournament. But they would go, and there was I remember his name, a guy called Faisal. He was the Qatar. No, he's from Dubai, but he was brought up with Qatar to be the Arabic commentator. That guy could speak for the country. That guy knew how to talk, man. But I love their energy though. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they keep that level of energy and that kind of level of quality for that amount of time. But fair play. I mean, of course, for me, I was doing Blast Spike Nations, which was. Do you know what? It was actually very, very good fun. I gotta say, when I originally got the call, I was super excited because I didn't think I'd be doing anything Valorant related this off season. I kind of just thought maybe I'd done my bits for Polaris. I got very fortunate to be brought into VRL Berlin, and I thought maybe that's me done. But I was happy with the year, especially since kind of like I'd just been brought on into Valorant and I'd just started to climb whatever. Then I get the call, so I'm extremely happy I get the call. Ian Chambers, who I know very, very well, met him at VRL Berlin, got brought to the guild stuff, of course, a lot with you. Love the guy. So he's like, he DMs me and he's like, he's the fucking, anyone who ever meets Ian Chambers.
I think he's my favorite host personally.
No one I've ever worked with, and I don't mean this to any offense to anybody else, like they will never ever compete with Ian Chambers. He is literally as good as they get, just because as well you can just tell. First of all, he's experienced. I won't give away his age because he'd fucking kill me, but he's older. He's in his 30s, right? And he's had like years, maybe even decades at this point, of like media training within traditional media. He had a drive time radio show for like ages. He had a football TV show for a long time. He worked in TV production for a long time. He owns his own like media company as well. Like he knows how the lay of the land is, but he's as good as they get. Like I think comfortably, like if given the shot, any game, any scene, scenario, any stage, the guy would kill it. Like I think he is the best host I've ever worked with, and probably one of the best I've ever seen as well. He's up there with like kind of like OJ Borg kind of levels, like just as good as they get. So anyway, tangent there, but Ian messaged me on WhatsApp and he's like, all right, mate, you by any chance go to Copenhagen in a month? And I was like, how do you know? Like, I don't even know like who else is on it. Like, but he'd been sent a list by his agent, and then I got the list from him, and it was like me, Tombiz, Mitchman, Ryan Central, Kakuka, Geo, Ian, and I'm like, shit, like damn, like there's some big hitters here. Like obviously, just they are all significantly bigger in the commentating scene, and just, especially with Valorant as well. They are heavy hitters. They're especially, you like Yamichi, Thomas, and Kakuko do basically and Ryan as well, basically more or less every tier 1 event. And Gio has had so much experience doing them. Ian, who's had a lot of experience doing them as well. So it was definitely like, these were the big hitters, and I was just, tagging along for the ride. So I knew I kind of had to like hold my own. And then I got told, so I originally thought I was in the desk as well, because I'd done that at VRL Berlin. I'd done that at Polaris as well a bit, as well, alongside casting with Pavlos. So I kind of assumed I was in the desk. Anyway, so we're like 3 days before the event, and maybe like a week before the event, and I get like the list of like, the run, like how everything's gonna run, and it's like Tom and Mitch casting standard, Gio Kakuka desk, Ian host, Neo Ryan central casting. I'm like, am I casting? Oh shit, okay, that's different. Like, I haven't casted Valorant since the Polaris stuff, and that had been probably at this point like 4 or 5 months since we had Polaris. Now it was like May. When was the last time we had Polaris? Maybe like about May, right?
Yeah, it was.
It was because
somewhere like that.
VRL Berlin was June, I want to say, and that was obviously the finals of the the regional league. So I want to say it was honestly like May.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up. I honestly have a feeling it was like early to mid part of the year is how I put it. If I'm right in saying, because VRL finals in Berlin was that was obviously the best from every league. So I want to say about maybe June, but even that I think is pushing it. Go on. What have you got for me?
I've got to remember.
Polaris season. What was that now? See, that would be season
July.
2.
It was July.
Oh shit. Okay, later than I thought, but even still. And then of course like VRL would have been August, probably something like that, about a month after. But anyway.
July 3rd was the grand finals.
Okay, there we go. So it'd been a hot minute. And so I kind of, I spent like that week of just like, just remembering how to cast Valorant, to be perfectly honest. You obviously get a little bit rusty. So I had a decent amount of practice. Actually, shout out, I did some practice with Gompers. Just to like, because we were both just like, let's do a bit of Valorant practice. I was like, yeah, mate, happy to. Cool. Let's run it up. So, and that went really well. That was actually really refreshing for me. But then also I was doing play-by-play, because Ryan obviously was doing the color side, and I hadn't play-by-played in a while. I used to be a play-by-play in CSGO, and then I realized a lot of play-by-plays in CSGO and not a lot of good colors. I mean, a lot of the colors in CSGO, like, no offense, they're just pretty shit. They don't actually know what they're talking about. So I was like, right, I'm actually gonna like, I know what I'm talking about. I follow the game more than most. I'm gonna lean more into the color side. And if I ever need to do play-by-play, I can kind of carry on my tangent, but I'll keep in the back pocket as an ace up the sleeve kind of thing. But obviously, I was doing play of this, I was like, shit, all right, cool. This is gonna be a big step up, in front of the big boys. And working with Blast as well, who, in my opinion, are one of, if not the best, in terms of production in any game in the world. I think they are just like stellar. I don't, for those who don't really get to see, obviously Blast don't do a lot of Valorant, but for any of you who know anything about Blast in terms of CS:GO, watching at home, like they are as good as it gets. Like you just can't compare to them. They know what they're doing. Anyway, it was sick. Like, went out there. It was a charity event. So nothing was on the line. There's a couple of big hitters playing, like Scream and Navera, of course, are playing. Avova was playing as well. Quite a few other like VCT level players. So I think the way they had it, it was one VCT player per team, one VRL player per team, one GameChangers player, and then 2 content creators was like how the teams are made up. And obviously it's a little bit flexible because, like, for example, like Benelux, they had Scream and Navera, obviously both VCT level players, but I think basically they came as a package deal. So, you're not going to say no to those guys. But it was sick. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Ryan was super good to work with, like, unbelievably knowledgeable. First time basically speaking to any of them, really, aside from Ian, obviously I knew from VRL Berlin, and Ryan I'd spoke to a long time ago because he saw me casting a Rick's Open back in like 2020, and he was like, he just followed me on Twitter, and he basically mentioned like, oh mate, I like your casting. It was actually me and Pavlos doing that, and he was like, you two are pretty good, like keep it going, man. Who knows what'll happen. So I've always up to Ryan, but obviously Tom and Mitch, heavy hitters. Kakuka Gio as well on the desk as well, also heavy hitters. So I was like, you feel a bit nervous, but I mean all of them were just absolutely, like, they were so nice. They're so nice. Got on them really well. So I'm really glad I went, and it was a really good event. And Benelux won, Scream Nevera, of course. I think everyone kind of expected that, but they were pretty sick. They were just untouchable, basically. And to be fair, Nevera was a beast with Harbour, which that was like the Spike Nations. We were the first tournament ever, basically, to use Harbour. It was the first time anybody got to see Harbour, and no one had seen Harbour gameplay. Like that was the whole point of the event. It was like a partner event with Riot EMEA to show Harbour. But it was good. It was good. It was a good event. Went well. Scream won. They just farmed. Basically, they were kind of untouchable. I mean, credit to the finals was Eastern Europe, and those guys actually they knew what they're doing. They were pretty good. But in the end, you know how it is. But enough for us yabbering on. We can get on to recent news, what we've had so far, and I think probably the best thing to start with is the ecosystem. We've kind of had a little bit more of a look in. We'll switch on over. We've had Riot have released us an overview essentially of what is going to be the Champions Tour from absolutely the rock bottom essentially all the way up to the pinnacle of Valorant. So I thought we'd kind of start here and have a little look-see through. So first of all, I want to say we were going to have this conversation just before we started. The rebrand. It's sexy, man. It's a good-looking rebrand.
I've been saying it from day one, man.
It's good. I like it.
Look, I really like it. They're going with a more. I don't know. There's a very like late 2000s vibe to it.
Yeah, I like it.
Like you see the 3D graphic of the pyramid thing. That feels very Matrixy to me.
I love it, man. I really love it. I think it looks so good.
I like it.
And obviously, just a side note, obviously I don't know anything about making websites, but this website feels very well made. Just as like a side note. But anyway, we can start at the top. So obviously, global events. As you expect, your masters of all the expected whatever international leagues. So the 3 new leagues, the best teams compete to be crowned champions of their leagues and qualify for global events. So there's now essentially this is just showing the path from the bottom, just your average Joe playing at home, which is no longer just your average Joe playing ranked and trying to get Radiant and maybe get picked up through being spotted. It's now like there's an actual way through, which obviously we'll move on to kind of momentarily. There's obviously challenges, of course, which is where we'll be doing a lot of our work, of course, with Polaris and all the rest, and hopefully some stuff with the VRLs as well, or whatever they end up going to be
Still yet to see any of the branding for challenges, by the way. I want to see what branding they're coming up. We don't know the names that they're going to get. We don't know if it's still going to be Polaris or what.
They're cooking something.
They're cooking. Yeah.
They got something. But I think it's really cool how there's that kind of there's the Ascension tournaments that are like linked in with challenges, and then there's also kind of the rung below all of that, which is the in-game competitive mode, which again, this is another thing we were going to have a conversation about. I think this is like not make or break, but I think this either goes unbelievably well where you see these real homegrown talents, these these stories that you shed a tear with when you're watching like a movie about it, where it's like this guy just grinding at home and manages to like continue to climb and maybe get himself spotted. And it could be unbelievable. But at the same time, I think there's also a world in which this could be just like not used properly or shit, or people just don't take care of it. Like maybe even like people just don't give it the attention it deserves. So I'm hoping that Riot have a plan to really like basically essentially to get, pull people away from just being ranked puggers, or maybe even like just streaming, for example, because obviously there's a lot of people who stream ranked, get a very decent amount of viewership, probably a decent amount of money on the side of it as well, and they're like, well, why do I need to spend 6 hours a day in prac scrimming to try and climb in this in-game competitive mode when I can just earn a few £100 every night playing ranked and like just destroying everybody. So I'm hoping there's a way that they kind of convince like ranked demons and people who are actually very good, especially like the IGLs as well, who maybe don't get the limelight in terms of ranked, for example, because obviously that's not their job, but they can convince them to get it cooking. But I think for me, I'm hoping this goes really well because it could be really kind of revolutionary stuff.
Yeah. I definitely think there's a world in which it's treated the same as ranked, in that like maybe the teams do get like Riot's like, hey, you're gonna be the next challengers teams or whatever, and then no orgs actually want to pick up a team that just got their way through like a in-game tournament kind of thing. That's gonna be the thing, is whether orgs are interested in picking up teams, pug teams. They're literally pug teams. They just pick up teams that went through a in-game tournament to get to this level, or whether teams are going to get involved before. Like they see a team that is doing well in Premier and go, hey, we want you to be part of. Yeah, hey, we see you might be winning the in-game tournament. Hey, do you want to sign a contract with us? And then as soon as they get through, they kind of have that. They just get through immediately into this branding stage.
I agree.
There's a lot more that goes into building a team for a tournament
than 100%.
Than just being good at the game. Exactly. Like a 5-stack, you need to consider branding. You need to consider
content,
how PR friendly these players are. How being adopted straight into the Riot umbrella is going to be very difficult just off the back of good results. Because Riot will not want a team that is terrible people, frankly, in their system. Because I mean, that's just there's a lot that needs to happen in terms of teaching the players how to be camera friendly than 100%. Just doing good.
There's a world as well where someone makes it through, like a team makes it through, and they, like you said, they're just horrible people. Maybe you even just get like those guys who will come through and they may be unbelievable players, but they're just as toxic as they get. And with Riot and how kind of brand friendly they are, and how kind of they want to be seen in a way on a slightly more PG side where they're not going to let this stuff slide. And we'll kind of touch on that in a little way more detail kind of into the latter part of the episode. But there's a whole thing about where I think this is going to be great in terms of there will definitely be some diamonds in the rough who come through who are great players, fantastic, PR friendly, and just someone's going to get them on the cheap and be like, we have just found an absolute gem here, and we're paying him. We don't have to pay him that much because we're giving him the shot of potentially paying in the challengers, or potentially even higher than that, right? So, but there's also a world in which people come through and they may be sick of the game, but they're pricks, and they're just going to make it very difficult for Riot to try and keep them in line because they're just used to sitting in their basement at home, dwelling, being toxic as they come. So, but I do think one thing that I really do like about this is that you see, especially in the earlier stages of games, and Valorant luckily has started to move away from that now, but you definitely saw it at the start where you see players who came in, who made big names for themselves early doors, but they're not at that level, especially as the game started to adapt and they started to, new blood started to come through. But the only thing is, because the game's new, these same players would just keep getting recycled around teams and keep getting recycled around, the big orgs and get all the big shots, even though there was definitely better players who deserved it, who just weren't as popular or weren't as big of a name. And obviously a lot of orgs who got in early doors would be like, well, I could sign this young guy who is unbelievable, but no one knows who he is, or I could sign this veteran who's pretty shit, but he has 400,000 followers, so I reckon he'll sell a few shirts. And, they obviously lead in favor of option 2. But I think this is a really good opportunity because I think it will bring in just a fresh crop of people coming through. It will actually force people to stay competitive, because there's definitely a world in which, we see it in other esports where the same players get, just passed around the top orgs, where the game stagnates, the meta stagnates, because there's no kind of incentive or real drive for this new blood to come through. So I'm liking this because I think for me, it will keep things fresh at the top, because it will force people to stay on their toes, and also force people to be very wary of the lower tiers. I think there was definitely we'd know all too well, between tier 2 and tier 1 there was a huge gap in terms of not only like the players' levels, but the focus, the viewership, the concentration. And I think it's safe to say that a good chunk of the tier 1 guys did not give a shit about tier 2. Like they knew they didn't need to, because there was never a world in which these guys were really going to compete with them or ever be a problem. But I think now this will push the tier 1 guys to at least be a little bit more tentative and aware, maybe even just whack on the stream every now and again and be like, all right, this guy keeps cropping up with dropping 30 bombs. Maybe we should just keep an eye on him. Potentially, it could be someone who could, face us in the future. So I like this. I think basically, it's a path to glory. And I think that those stories and stuff, and the narrative, especially if you're someone working on a broadcast like we do, those narratives are just an absolute gold mine. To be able to kind of essentially follow this guy's story from home all the way to the big stage. That's you can't get it better than that, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I could see it being really good. I could see it being really awkward to implement.
Yes.
But I think it's a net positive. I think it's better than having the system we currently have in Europe, which is they're kind of tier 3-esque thing, which is beacons, which are great. They're fine, but they're just
there's no incentive.
Tournaments. There's no nobody wants to. There's not good prize money behind it. It's just kind of we play for this. Oh well, actually the prize money's great. It's just the implementation is a bit awkward and a bit weird, and there's no reason to be in tier 2 because there's no brands don't want to be associated with. This has always been a thing with. I've discussed this with many people. It's always been a thing with tier 2 English broadcasts. There's no reason for brands to get involved with it. Why would you want to sponsor a tier 2 English broadcast when you can sponsor the tier 1 English broadcast? It makes sense for stuff like the Spanish broadcast where there isn't a tier 1 Spanish broadcast because Riot don't, there's obviously the co-streams for Masters and stuff like that, but it's an English speaking esport. And so when there's a tier 2 Spanish thing, that's great. Spanish products can get their stuff in, or maybe even Red Bull or whatever can get a sponsor in there because that's their Spanish market. They want to get that going. Tier 2 English broadcasts have always been this kind of thing, like, oh, why? There's no reason to invest in this. Exactly. And that was very much the story with that VRLs. That was very much the story with Northern Europe VRL Polaris, but I think it's going to be a little different now because there's going to be a lot of tier 1 players in Polaris. Yeah,
especially with the new roster things as well, right? I mean, again, another thing we've kind of already sort of touched on when we had Bodor come on, but, with the new rules coming in, there's going to be a bit of a shake-up in terms of what teams can get away with. I think we saw it a lot in towards, like the French league had it pretty bad as well, where, like, for example, Vitality had one French player on their team and then a guy who was a sub who actually didn't play, and he was basically just a streamer. And it was essentially just so they could bypass the rules because you only have to have 2 out of the 6 on your team. The 6th being the sub, be from that region. But it meant that teams could just abuse it and have essentially one actual French player. And then Vitality is a great example. They're like kind of one French, one Polish. They were all over the shop essentially, and they were common in English. So it wasn't even like it was a French team in that sense. And I think the good thing is that we also had talent. Well, I say we. Polaris had talent abroad as well. Like we had one of the, I think, his name Lewis. I think he plays for Focus. We had people like that who were kind of shipped all over. So there's a world potentially in when some of those guys, come back essentially and have to, and they're like, they're hot material because they're trying to fill out the spots within Polaris. So I think, potentially it could be good. I think it's a fair thing. I think, you can't be having just one player on a team who's actually from that region. It just kind of defeats the point. It's meant to be homegrown talent.
Yep.
But
definitely.
We can move on a little bit. International events, of course, we know the first thing is going to be the kickoff tournament. It is all in Brazil. Should be very good. Speaking of Brazil as well, that kind of quite nicely moves on to where we get the new implementation of that kind of new league that's coming through, or Premiere as they're calling it. They have an alpha test which is going to be starting in Brazil. So obviously at the moment this seems like the massive, essentially the epicenter for testing, right? I mean, obviously we're gonna have the kickoff tournament in Brazil, which I've got the calendar here on the 14th of Feb. I hate American dates where it's like the date second. I was probably working that out for a second.
Valentine's Day.
There we go. Valentine's Day. Romantic.
Romantic.
Of course, challenges start nice and early. We were kind of speculating. I don't think we have an exact date, but it's about mid-January is what we're expecting, roughly. Yeah. But the really good thing, a good thing for us in terms of a job is the fact that challenges is like the first 2 splits are like back to back in a way. So it means that essentially for the first half of the year, we're going to be doing quite a lot of work. Obviously, we'll be involved within Polaris. And potentially, more stuff revolving around that. And potentially as well, there's stuff that links from Polaris onwards. And then there's the Ascension tournament in July, which I don't think we have too much information on that right now. We have kind of this little drop out here where everyone's seen this graphic, the promotion path graphic. But, I don't think we have too much information on how it's going to run so far. But I still think it sounds pretty exciting, to be honest. Again, like we said, it's kind of this road to glory where you go from challengers, ascending, masters, champions, whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. It sounds cool to me, but the calendar looks cool. But I think So give me your thoughts on the Premiere, the alpha testing thing. I'm assuming you were mentioning something about it's similar to League.
Yeah, from what I understand, I don't play League, So let's
Let's just
not
start
make any,
out there, right?
I am not a League player. But from what I understand, they have a system that's relatively similar. And I mean, a lot of games are implementing it now. I know Rocket League has a similar kind of thing where it's like they schedule a tournament for this time, and everyone can play in it, and you get put into kind of a bracket in that tournament based on your rank already in ranked, and then depending on how well you do, you get like in-game rewards and stuff like that. And if you're right at the very top and you're Radiant and you get into one of these ones and you win it, then maybe that's going to be the part that links into challenges or whatever. But yeah, I think the main thing is you can earn in-game rewards from doing well in an event, basically.
Okay, I mean, you can see that kind of that point. There's like a points graphic in that bottom right corner where it's progress to players. I mean, I gotta say, it sounds pretty cool, right? I mean, obviously, the upcoming events on the left-hand side, there's obviously, I mean, this is the good thing. I think the best thing about these sort of events, and when you see like how these things are going to run, when it's self-explanatory and you can just directly see, I think this is with anything in life, when you can directly see how you progress, right? How this leads to something, which leads to something, that's always a massive positive sign. And I think this is it's more of the same. It seems very self-explanatory. You get points. I'm assuming the majority of the points, you get a fairly decent chunk off the back of winning. But I think this is one of those classic things where it's consistency at a high level will lead you to further, and probably then opportunities to play in a more international scope, and then potentially even opportunities later down the line to play internationally, maybe even like small time lands kind of thing. And you can even see as well that it seems like Valve, that Riot and Valorant generally are trying to lean in favor of having land spaces from the lowest echelons even. So I mean, it sounds pretty cool. It's being tested in Brazil. They've kind of already said that like they've only got like 60% of things working. It's very early doors, but of some of the stuff that's in there, I just want to read out some of the key features. Team creation with team logos and colors. First of all, I just thought that was quite cool. Like just being able to just like make your own logo. Definitely going to be abused. Already thrown out there.
Oh yes.
It is going to be abused beyond belief.
No, actually, you know what? This is actually something that was in Rocket League as well. I'm a very big kind of I've been playing Rocket League for a while. They have this kind of in-game team thing, and you can have custom colors in game and your team name displayed when you win and everything like that. Awesome. Definitely going to be abused. 100%. So many questionable team tags in that game, and you get beaten by this team and it just displays it in full text and their beautiful eye-breaking colors on the screen.
Exactly.
We'll see.
I think it's a nice thing to have. And I'm just going through some of the images now. I can obviously see how the kind of custom thing works. Looks pretty cool. Here's how the tournament bracket will work. It's a standard bracket, but again, very, very cool. I think we don't really know too much how this works in the long-term scope of things, but obviously you're going to get points off winning it, potentially, get a lot of points, get noticed, whatever. It looks really cool. And it also looks very broadcast friendly as well. So hopefully there's opportunities in a way to... I don't know how they would implement this, because that's the one thing that probably one of the only negative things I'd say about Valorant as a whole is that it just doesn't have its own, like, within CSGO we have GoTV, for example. It doesn't have its own system in that way, which if it had a somewhat system, which I think first of all is very hard to implement, but if it did have a system like that, I think it would just be easier because it allowed anybody to stream anything, and it'd be quite cool, I think, to see like a lot more people doing watch parties around these lower tier things, because I think there's obviously a lot of priority towards the top level, obviously. But within, example, I use CSGO as an example just because it's one that I know well. But, within CSGO, for example, you can see people, casting and streaming the absolute bottom rung, ESEA Open, the lowest of the lowest, the absolute F tier CSGO. But anybody can, right? Because you have auto observers who are going to follow the kills, and you have the GoTV, which allows anybody just to grab the IP, whack it in, boom, can watch. So, I mean, I'm hoping there's some sort of thought process about potentially making this not just about the playing side, but also about, the content side as well. But who knows? I
do remember that they did... You remember when the Overwatch League had an integration with Twitch where you could watch certain players and you could turn off the casters and stuff like that? They did announce that they were doing something like that, Riot. I can't remember when it was. Okay. They said they were going to do something like that. I don't know whether it be implemented in-game. I would like to see in-game implementation like GoTV, like you were saying. But I think there is a thought process going into that. Yes, I would like it to be in game though, definitely.
Just because I think, like, even for example, let's just, we're just sitting at home of an evening and we see, some of the UK boys, like Hypers, for example, he's playing in this tournament or in the semi-final. It'd be kind of cool to just whack up your stream, do a little watch party of it. Like, I think that'd be kind of cool. It's in a way like publicity for their circuit, their tournament, for free. I mean, they don't have to do anything. It's just there, and we're the ones streaming it. And obviously, there'll be like bigger time creators who would obviously do more of the same. So I think it'd be quite cool. But obviously, there's no announcement of anything like that. So I definitely wouldn't expect anything at the moment. But I mean, it looks very cool from what we can see. Obviously, the premier scores for qualifying, end of season tournaments, matchmaking, and Q health throughout alpha. I'm not too sure what Q health means, but who knows? Obviously, alpha days, we don't really know too much. General bugs and much more. Nice and vague. But obviously, this is all super early. We don't know anything too much. It's all being tested in Brazil. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it's implemented, but at the moment, we don't really know too much. I think it's a cool idea, which looks pretty foolproof. I don't really see a way in which this, I'm saying this. This could be an absolute jinx of jinxes, but I don't really see a way which this can go bad. Apart from maybe the odd tag or logo, which is slightly sus. But apart from that, it seems like a very good way to keep people interested as well. Because I think there's even a point where even the ranked pug gods do get bored of just playing ranked, right? There's even there's a world in which they do it gets stale to them, right? I think this is another way to make things not stale. It's good content for streamers as well. Make a little stream team, have a little play, see how far you can get. It's super easy stuff for basic content creators and players within to have a bit of variety. And variety, I think, is always a good thing. So
yeah. For sure.
I'm excited. Looking good. Of course, we can move quite swiftly on. Of course, this is their announcement. Lovely little graphic. It's testing in Brazil from November the 11th to the 21st. Of course, it's already concluded now, but hopefully we'll get kind of a little bit more kind of information on that. We can, of course, move on to Harbour. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we had a bit of testing at Blast. We actually got I don't even know what they're called, early access accounts, I guess, to play Harbour, and we were kind of just sitting on the PCs having a go. But what are your thoughts on Harbour at this stage?
He's like a temporary Viper. It's like I feel like after playing him for 20 minutes, you realize that there's no real competitive advantage to him over another controller in any way, shape, or form. Yes, his walls are very cool. Yes, they can be used for retakes really goddamn well on certain maps, but he's not a good controller to have. Yes, he could be used as well as another controller to be this is a good one, but in general, I don't see a way he's ever going to get used properly in the pro scene.
No,
I don't see a way he's really if you one trick him, maybe you could get good at using his walls in a quirky, funny way, but it's just there's no. His kick just isn't useful. It's
pretty shit. Let's be perfectly honest. I even kind of mentioned this at Blast. I think there's no incentive to pick Harbour over most other controllers. I think obviously the Ultimate. I think it's called the Reckoning. Is that what it's called? I think it's definitely there to counter Viper's Pit. Fair enough. I think it's actually pretty good. Obviously, you can see little signals above as where people are, so you can spam them through Viper's Pit. But aside from that, it's pretty bad. I think Cove, which is the ball, it's just too weak. It's so easy to spam down. So I don't think it's really anything that is going to be an issue. Basically for me, there's subtle changes that I would make, but I think there's definitely changes that need to be made, as we can kind of see with some of these tweets, and Lofar mentioned it. He's gonna be a nightmare to balance, right? He's just too weak. I think he's absolutely spot on. It is just too weak, and I think the thing that I would kind of go about this. I was thinking about kind of ways I would change. We had a lot of time casting him at Blast. We were the first tournament to cast him, so we got a lot of time, and we got early hands-on access. And from what I could see, I think it's very hard to make him balanced to incentivize people to pick him. There's a couple of changes that I would make in terms of First of all, Cove, which is the ball, the protective ball or whatever, it just needs to be stronger. Like, it's just weak as shit.
It breaks in 2 seconds.
Exactly. It's just way too weak. I think, first of all, the ultimates, I think, are actually fine. I don't think the ultimate needs any changes. It does its job. I think it's pretty decent, especially if you're like a defender side and you're playing in you're trying to, retake on a post plant. It's very good for getting info. But I don't think that needs any problems. I think, increase Cove. It's just too weak. I think the water wall, which it's meant to slow. It doesn't really. It slows for 1.5 steps. Just who cares? Like, no one's going to be scared off by that. So I think there was a change that I would make to that is that it slows the enemy going through it. It slows them down significantly. I'm talking like, concussion levels where it's like, I'm like 3 to 5 seconds. So it's actually like a thing of like, oh shit, I shouldn't really push through that because if I push through that, I'm going to be concussed or whatever. Something just to incentivize people not to push through it. Because even like, if you think of the other wars, you take Decay from Viper. From Phoenix, you take burn damage as well. Like, and then on the other side as well.
And those are like, and Viper's one is permanent as well.
Exactly.
Like, you can anchor a site with it. You can't anchor a site with Harbor at all.
And Phoenix heals himself. So it's like, there's a benefit to him. And this is the thing. I don't think Harbor has a benefit to his own wall. Like, I think one thing that I would do is maybe something similar to Phoenix where it either heals him. I mean, he's the god of king of water, whatever. So, I feel like water should do something to him. Or another one, which I think is a possibility, is it gives him a speed boost. Like, it's, he walks through it and he's, twice as quick for like 3 to 5 seconds, where the enemy is twice as slow. So, I feel like there's just no benefit. Obviously, there's a world in which that becomes massively overpowered, but at the moment, there is zero incentive to use this guy. He's just not strong enough. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to him. I think for the devs, as Lothar quite rightfully mentions, they have got a nightmare of a journey because I don't really know.
It's a Phoenix situation, which I don't think they'll ever be actually a part of the meta unless you really like playing them. Their kit is just not. It doesn't stand up to everyone else's. Yeah, everyone else has their own little corner, their little niche in the meta because of their kit. Harbor is just an underpowered Viper.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I just don't see at the moment the world in which Harbor gets picked over any other controller. Literally any. Yeah. I mean, there's just no need. I mean, you look across the board at the controllers that we got to work with, and all of them outclass him in terms of ability. And I think as well, it's it was really good for Riot to bring an agent based out of based out of the APAC region. I think of India. So very nice for them to get the representation that they want. But I think they even be slightly miffed. They've got their representation, but then they got the representation in an agent who's just terrible, right? So and I think this is the thing. Normally we see agents come through, they may be slightly OP when they first get into the game, and then they get kind of nerfed until it's level. But this is like, in a weird way, the complete opposite. I think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if there's been every. There must be talks at Riot because they've obviously brought this guy in, and he's just not good enough. And no intent to pick him. And I think that was, it's not good on them. But it means we're bringing new agents that no one wants to pick. So they've got to find a way to buff him. But then they've got other agents they've got to fix as well. I mean, Phoenix needs fixing still. So who knows? I think it's still slightly. It's a bit of a mess, but it needs to be improved. I think as well, there's a world in which if it was improved and where it's competitive, it's actually a very good choice against compositions who use Viper a lot. I think it actually does. It has very good counters to Viper, especially the Viper's Pit, which is always a bitch to clear if you're a retaking side, or even on the other side. We see a lot of times on Icebox, right? The Viper over towards A site just parks up, just sits there, just drops a Viper's Pit, and they don't even want to bother going there because it's not worth it.
That's my thing with other controllers. You don't need to be on site to be anchoring the site. Yeah. With Harbor, you need to be there. Like if you don't see Harbor utility and you don't see Harbor, you know that you're not on the site with a controller on it, so you can just push it. And great, he's great with retakes, but if you've already given away half of the game because you're playing Harbor, then what's the point in playing and just play Viper? Yeah,
I think it's a really, really weird state. I don't really know how it can work, but I think for me the only ones I can think of is definitely the kind of the orb, the smoke needs to be massively buffed. It's so weak. Like I think it's like, what is it? It's like 10 bullets or less that drops it, so it's super weak. I think the slow needs to be way slower, and I think it should also buff Harbor in some way where it's healing like Phoenix or a speed boost would be kind of cool. Just get something different, and it also gives people the incentive to kind of play a little bit more aggressive with him. But who knows? I think it's quite messy. But moving on, of course, recent news: GameChangers, G2 Gazen again. Looking pretty good. I don't think it's a shock. I feel like to me, I don't think it's a shock that G2 Gazen won, but I think it's a shock in the way in which they won. So pretty. Oh, Matt's off. He's just going.
Yeah, I just felt like that was enough for the day. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done here. Yeah, 40 minutes in, like, sack this. G2 Gazen. I mean, to be fair to them, a comeback win. I think they were. They felt more pressure than I expected them to feel. Is probably the way I'd put it. But
I mean, Shopify Rebellion are a scary team, to be fair. So I wasn't surprised when I saw Shopify were winning the series, but then I wasn't surprised when I saw G2 reverse sweep them. Also, they were like, both of the teams had the capability to do that. And obviously, we'll talk about the elephant in the room, or the elephant that wasn't in. Actually, that's hold on a second. Wait, that came out really wrong. I don't want to call him that. The coach that wasn't in the room. Me. Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, the elephant in the room. The elephant that wasn't in the room. Hold on, I'm calling him an elephant. No, it's but we'll talk about that later. But that's that may have played a part in it, but I don't know. Yeah,
that's definitely something to touch. We can touch on that in our lovely drama segment. But that I think there's definitely a world in which that had it had an impact. It's safe to say. We're not going to ignore it. We'll just come back to it. But I mean, I don't want to at the same time as well discredit G2 Gazen, because they just continue to just be dominant. And one of the cool things as well is that to Mary, who got picked up by Gazen, obviously, there's a lot of questions about her and what she can bring to the table. Also, she's so young. I mean, she's like 16. Yeah. So she's still a kid. And, you know, there are a lot of questions about what she could bring to the table, how good she was going to be. Can she kind of, you know, play to their level? Because in the GameChangers world, their level is the best of the best, right? You know, would she be able to keep up? Obviously, everyone knew she was good. It was just, it's different in terms of, you know, doing it on land, for example. It's a completely different scenario. But she came in and she farmed. And one of the cool things as well is that, so my first time I got to see Mary was at Blast. She played for MENA, and she was comfortably the best player on that team. Like, she was unstoppable. And that's when I was really confident that, for me, like, I think there was definitely question marks about can Gazen just continue their dominancy, especially as well with a lot of teams starting to come through who are actually being problematic. Guild, they were, you know, quite a very decent team. They started to be a real issue. You mentioned Shopify Rebellion, C9 White as well, another big name, big hitter. So there was a lot of teams coming through who I thought, you know, there's actually a world in which they could, you know, push these girls off the throne. But no, when I saw Mary play for MENA within Spike Nations, Jesus Christ, she's unbelievable, and she continued it, and all of them did. So, I mean, that the mental kind of fortitude of coming back in that sort of game, credit to them. So. You know, deserved winners. They continue to be seen as, well, I think now there was definitely a debate of who was the best female team, you know, because on a more international scale, it wasn't really as tried and tested. I think now finally there is no more debate anymore. It is.
I think it's close. I like the fact that there was no outstanding, like every team there was really competitive.
Yeah, which was a good event as well. I really enjoyed what we saw from it.
So many upsets and so many like interesting stuff happening. It was great.
The storylines were sick. I think GameChangers did a really solid job. I always think GameChangers do a solid job because I think they are the ones kind of, you know, making this path essentially for female esports. They've kind of incentivized other games to really, you know, step up their shit basically where they haven't. Great example, CSGO, right? They got directly essentially kind of bullied into actually caring about the female scene for the first time in like 10 years off the back of the success of GameChangers. So it's really awesome to see how well it's doing and how it continues to prosper as well. So I gotta say, happy to see it all. Bit of a tangent, but we can move on to our next subject. Roster moves. Now this one, there is a lot to talk
Just
about.
A little bit to go over.
Yeah, there is a serious amount to talk about. We'll start off with a great tweet done by the man, the myth, the Bodog, who joined us, of course, for our first episode or second episode? First episode, yeah. So nice early doors. And he's kind of essentially... if you don't know who Bodog is, he does a lot of reporting as well. Also the manager of Hookahs, a team we play with in Polaris. So we know Hookahs, we love him. San Hookahs. But He's done a long list.
Maybe not who cards anymore.
Yeah, very true, very true. But
the insider info, I wouldn't say.
The insider info. But he's done a long list of essentially every roster, what we know so far, what's been locked in. And we'll kind of go bit by bit, but basically, I think if those of you want a nice short form version, I think it's worth checking out all of this. Worth checking out. There's a lot here. He's done basically I think if I'm right in saying he's done every single team,
more have been announced since to this thread, but
exactly.
this was a beautiful tweet because it
summed up everything.
He got a hold of the contract database. Lovely.
Yeah, I know. I love it. What a nerd! He was just
what a nerd.
I love it.
To be fair, that was a public folder that every reporter had access to, but Bodork is the only one checking it.
Yeah, he's the only one who thought to go through, and I mean it just continues to go. So he's basically gone through every partner team and more as well. Not even just the partner teams. He's done a very solid job. But we'll go bit by bit because obviously it's worth doing so, and I think it's very good to start with Cloud9 because they have signed. They've signed some. Yeah, they're all right players, aren't they? They're okay. They're not too shabby.
Just a few decent players.
I love
their announcement video as well.
Oh,
I love Slime.
Beautiful.
This is just beautiful.
It was so well made. I think when this came out, we talk about kind of tweets that kind of break the internet, or at least for like a day, and for the day in which this came out. That was the only thing that people could talk about because I think there was also a lot of there was a lot of questions about who C9 were bringing in, who's getting Vanity as well. That was obviously one of the big things.
My God. They just cherry-pick the best players from every team.
Exactly. I think it's safe to say. I mean, I'd happily put my name on the line here that this is the best squad coming out of the Americas, or definitely one of. I mean,
it might be the best squad in the world. Honestly.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, it's good.
Not doubt it if they absolutely destroyed the kickoff tournament.
Yes.
That wouldn't surprise me in any way. I could see them not winning it, obviously, but this is just. You took Celsius, the best player, in my opinion, that has played for Sentinels.
Yeah.
I think he is, at this point, definitely better than Tens. He's just
I'd agree.
all-round great. The amount that he added to Sentinels while he was on loan to them was just insane. You've got Ye. You don't have to say anything about that. That's Ye.
Yeah.
The team that pretty much one-handedly led his team to victory.
There we go.
At Masters.
He's
You've got Vanity, who is one of the best IGLs I can think of.
I agree.
You've got Zephyr and Leaf, who, again, added so much to their rosters individually. I remember saying Leaf was the best player on... this is just... Every player is insane, and I could see them working really well together.
Yeah, I'm also just obviously there's the big hitters, but for me it's really nice to see Leaf doing well because I don't know if you saw any of this, but within CS he had a really rough time on the way out. Because of basically because he was so good and so young, he had a lot of cheating allegations thrown his way by MIBR and MIBR fans, like the players as well, like some of the biggest names within CS:GO. And it was a really rough spot, and he was playing for a team called Chaos, and they beat them in because MIBR were and kind of still are in CS were pretty shit, right? And they just got beaten by young players who were very good. Two of them being Leaf and Zephyr, and Vanity as well. In fact, all three of them were all together in Chaos. It's just really cool to see that these guys have continued and kind of bounced back from what was a really rough spot. They've come to Valorant and they've shown up and continued to be so consistent. Just so it brings it makes you happy. Especially Leaf got a lot of the flack as well because he was so young. I think at the time he was like 16 or 17, and he got a lot of the hate going his way. I mean, I know people were messaging his family and sending death threats to his parents and shit. It was messy, really messy.
Speaking of which, I need to add something to the bottom of this.
Go on.
Just I'm adding something to the drama.
Okay. We'll come back to that a bit later. But yeah, it was really messy. So it's really good to see that this side's come together. I think it's spot on. I think probably we started with the best essentially because I think there's a real good opportunity this side. I think going into most tournaments, you'd be a fool not to think they get at least top 4, literally, just because of the players alone. Obviously, we don't know how well they'll gel, but I think because they all know each other so well, they've known each other from the CS days, they've come into Valorant, a lot of them have played together in Valorant as well. They've got the synergy there, they've got the cohesion. I don't see a world in which this team doesn't just work wonders. Like it just looks, it looks unbelievably good. It's probably the best way to put it. I mean, you just can't not be scared of this roster. So good to see. I'm very excited to see what these guys can bring to the table. The question is, of course, can they live up to the hype? I think, pardon me, when you're put on this pedestal the way they are, some teams do crumble a bit under the pressure. But I feel like these guys are so well known. They've been around for such a long time. They play at the biggest level. I think they'll be all right. So I'm not too worried. Of course, then what we can go on to crew. Now, what are your initial thoughts on this roster? I've got to admit, there was a few players in there that I didn't know of, and I had to do a little bit of research. Obviously, a few of the bigger hitters as well. But what were your original thoughts?
I mean, this is most of the crew was always a very they were very much Argentinian and Chilean, right? Before, but now they've picked up Zen from Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yes.
They've picked up Melsa from Leviathan, and it's such a great. Maybe it's not the strongest South American team that is going around, but it is really, really good. I'm glad that they've picked up a more diverse team as we're moving out of the because it used to be you'd have South Latin America, North Latin America as your qualifiers for that. So it made sense to pick up a South Latin America roster of Argentina and Chile. Now, they've got some Brazilian players in there in Sand. They've got, can I remember oh God, I can't remember the flag now.
Of who? I've got it up on my screen.
Davies. I can't remember
is it Ecuador? No,
Colombia.
Colombia.
Jesus. No, my terrible British geography is showing.
I actually hovered over it and still said Ecuador as well, so that's terrible for me. But it's Colombia.
Yes. So yeah. I'm glad they've got a more diverse roster. It makes sense now that we're opening up into the Americas kind of thing.
Of course.
I'm interested to see how it works because obviously they share, they'll be able to communicate with each other. Portuguese and Spanish aren't incredibly different, and
I'm assuming they'll speak Spanish, if I'm right in saying, especially with the head coach and analyst. But I think most people, even the ones who are in Brazil who speak Portuguese, I'm sure they all know Spanish as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it's going to be. Yeah. I think it will work really well. But obviously, I feel like they're yet to prove themselves. Obviously, all of these players have been tier 1 and have been at Masters events, but I am interested to see how well they do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot for them to prove. Is probably the best way I put it. I think they're coming into this one. No one's really expecting them to be big hitters, but they kind of go into that dark horse category. I think is probably the better way to put it. I would never expect them to be, the best in their region. I think they've got it very difficult because there's actually a lot of hot talent coming out of the Americas now. But I'm hoping we can see some good work from them because who knows? We could see this team just be a little bit of an upset. But we can move on. We've had the Leviathan. It was in 3 parts, but essentially we've had Leviathan. I've also made changes to their rosters as well. I've kind of got all of them here. Manzino coming through as well. We got Kesnet Dios. Absolutely butchered that. I tried to get the Deus in there as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically. I like how Crew and Leviathan just swapped rosters, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Manzino and Kesnet obviously are incredible.
Yeah.
They've already proved themselves. And Nozwa from Furia as well.
I like their announcement, by the way, as well. It was very cool.
This is the best South American team for me.
I'd agree. I thought their announcement was really cool as well. Like the weird, I've got it up now, like the breaking news thing. But I've got to say, I think there's with the swap coming through, I think Leviathan have come out better in a way. I think more competitive is probably the better way to put it. I feel like, without being rude in a way, I just feel like the side actually looks very, very scary. And I think also they've kind of got a good blend of kind of young talent, but then also very, very, established players in their own way. So I think they should be very, very decent. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. I like Shy as well. He's a player who I thought was always all right. So, yeah, it's cool. I like the logo as well. Just another thing to add. I think they got great branding. But I think there's definitely going to be. Obviously, I know the whole thing is like it's Americas, right? So obviously they're going to be playing off against the likes of your Cloud9s and your EGs and whatever. But I think there's definitely also going to be this kind of slightly more domestic rivalry, especially with these kind of two sides coming through, like your crews, like the Leviathans, where it's kind of, you know, the South American flair, and we know how dedicated their fan bases are as well. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing what they can bring to the table. I mean, I think you're spot on that Leviathans seem like the slightly stronger side, but I don't know, man. I think it's so hard to call at this kind of early stage until we get like that kickoff tournament. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it for damn good reason.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see, obviously, South American teams playing regularly with North American teams. That's exciting to me.
I think it's good. Hopefully, you know, the kind of there's a good like split between lands in NA and lands in SA as well. So hopefully we get a bit of both. Move on as well. We've got Evil Geniuses. Now I gotta say, I mean, for Evil Geniuses, I'm not like really, you know, I don't think it's I don't think it's anything special in a way, is the way I would put it. I think, you know, I've always liked Ethan, of course. I think he's a fairly decent player. I don't think he's, you know, top caliber. I think basically what it feels like EG are doing is trying to kind of find these, you know, these young guns, these people who can, you know, potentially have a bright future hope that, you know, they can make something. But basically, you know, Evil Geniuses, I got to admit, they're an org I don't really like that much, because I think they make some... I like them a lot in terms of, I think they're one of the best organizations when it comes to like their morals, and they make really good decisions for, you know, they look after their people for the most part. They're like, you know, they're a very nice org from the stuff I've heard, but Jesus Christ, they make some bad decisions. But I think I like what they're going for here, because they could have very easily gone for, I mean, essentially like, you know, free agents that are bigger names, where, you know, potentially got a bigger following, maybe even a little bit more proven is another way to put it. But they've actually gone for a slightly more kind of young, fresh-faced roster. These guys who, they're not fully proven at the top level, but, you know, there's a world in which they really are, you know, a bit of a dark horse again. But I do think it's one of the weaker rosters.
Yeah. I mean, they said in their announcement video a 10-person roster for our 10 fans. I think they know their place right now in the... which is good. They're the underdog of the American...
Precisely.
They're the underdog of the Americas, or the North American part. I think Made in Brazil is probably going to be the underdog of the South American. Not because they have bad players, but a lot of their roster is kind of the players that were doing really well earlier. And
of course, like the old guard in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like the other teams have so many players that have proven themselves. Like, actually, I think South America is going to be incredibly strong. Anyway, Evil Geniuses is the underdog of this so far, because they haven't picked up any players that have proven themselves as winners yet, like every other roster has so far, and they haven't. I mean, it's a good team. I think BCJ is amazing. I think Ethan's a good pickup as well. I think like the rest of the Evil Geniuses roster that they have kept is also, they're very good players. I just don't think that they're going to have a fun time against the likes of Cloud9 and Sentinels and NRG and 100 Thieves. Not going to be great for them. But I want them to do really well, because I like an underdog story. So.
Yeah, do you know, I was having a conversation with Gio Collins, actually, because she's doing a video around this, and if it's out, which I don't think it is just yet, but when it does come out, I actually really do recommend watching it, because she's basically linking, and she's talking about this Evil Geniuses roster and kind of essentially the mentality that they're going forward in towards franchising, what they're looking for, and how they're kind of establishing themselves, how they're building themselves. And what she was kind of talking about, she was trying to link, because there was a comment done talking about Evil Geniuses, and apparently they've done a similar thing within League. I don't follow League at all, so I have literally no idea. But apparently there's a similar thing in League where for EG, they essentially had these young guys come through really untested, and they ended up qualifying for an international tournament, and it was like a nice homegrown story. But it's also basically, there were this guy in the comment section, which, you know, 9 times out of 10 you see a comment under a video, ignore it, it's probably bollocks. But this one guy was actually talking a lot of sense, and he was linking the kind of the mentality of Evil Geniuses to essentially football teams like Ajax and Dortmund, who basically, so for those of you who know Ajax, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who don't, just a brief kind of explanation. So essentially, in European football, there's 5 big leagues: English, Spanish, Italian, German, and French. They're the big 5 leagues, and they're the best 5 leagues in the world as well. And Ajax, who obviously they're from the Netherlands, the Dutch league, not one of the big five. I think it's ranked like 8th in the world. Ajax are one of the only good teams there, but they don't focus on being the best team in their region. What they focus on is their academy. All their money goes into their academy. It's called the Johan Cruyff Academy. Johan Cruyff is one of the most legendary footballers ever. He's got a skill move named after him. Played many years for Barcelona.
All of their money from selling their players.
Yes, and that's exactly it. So they get these young guys coming through. They're unbelievable. I mean, like literally the best in the world at spotting and nurturing talent. Yeah. That's what they're the best in the world for. And they've had so many stars come through there. They're just. I mean, even I honestly,
if you follow a team in the English, French, or German league,
yes,
one of your players has been
probably
at Ajax before.
Honestly, exactly. So, I mean, I even implore people at home who enjoy football and are interested, just go and look up the best players that have come through Ajax's academy in the lot. Even limited to the last 5 years, and you'll still be stunned at some of the names coming through. So that's what they do. They get these big players and they sell them for a lot of money, and then they reinvest all that money into their academy again. Their first team's great, and what they also do with their first team as well is that they bring in a lot of these young guys. I'm like kids. I'm like 16, 17-year-olds into their first team to get first team experience, playing at like Champions League level, which is the best tournament in the world, barring the World Cup, and the most prestigious tournament in the world, barring the World Cup. And they give them experience. And I think what this guy was basically saying, he was like linking evil geniuses to them. And also another example he brought in was Dortmund. So Dortmund are from Germany, which is one of the strongest leagues. It's the 4th strongest league in the world. And what he was saying was basically because in Germany, Bayern Munich from Munich are the best team in their league. They have been for the last 10 years. And of the last 10 years, I think they've won like 7 out of the last 10 Bundesligas. Yeah. And Dortmund have won like 2, I think. And then I think there's like one of the random team that won 1. But the way Dortmund differ themselves, because basically any good players that come through Dortmund, most of the time get picked up by Bayern Munich. It's a bit of a meme, but it happens. Marco Reus was one, for example. Matt Hummels, Lewandowski, whatever. Anyway, but the way they difference themselves and the way, because they don't have the money to compete with Bayern Munich, they don't have the facilities or the funds or the players or whatever. The way they compete is off the back of their academy. And some of the players who have come through their academy or their scouting system as well, their scouting system is unbelievable, is brilliant. I mean, at the moment, Erling Haaland, arguably the best footballer, the best striker in the world. I mean, I would happily say, in my opinion, he's the best striker in the world.
As somebody who has had Man City score several goals against him, against his team, and hated every minute of it, I think Haaland is probably the best striker in the world. Yeah,
in terms of everything he brings, and he was nurtured by Dortmund, and he obviously was from Salzburg originally, but Dortmund picked him up really young, got him on the cheap, and made him just into this animal. But basically, that's the way they did different themselves. And this guy was essentially linking that to evil geniuses. And I think that's actually a very, very good link. And I implore you, whenever the video comes out, go and watch Gio Collins' video. She's doing a video just talking about exactly this. And she put a lot of research into it. It sounds like it's going to be a corker video. But I think he's absolutely spot on. Basically, this is what they're going for. They're going for young talent, and they're differing themselves instead of signing big names. Because I even saw people quote tweeting this saying, like, who the fuck are these people, basically? But it's because they're younger guys. They're less experienced, but that's the difference. That's how they're going to differ themselves. And I like that because obviously, there's the one side of it, it's cool that they got these young guys who potentially could be absolute diamonds in the rough. They could be phenomenal. But at the same time, if they're not diamonds in the rough and if this team ends up being like okay with maybe a few stars coming through, they're going to make a hell of a lot of money when they sell them on. So there's, from a marketing and a business point of view, it's really good because they can potentially make money off some of these guys. And also, it's kind of nice to see Ethan as arguably the experience. Is probably the better way to put him. He is one of the more experienced players here. I want to see how he can nurture these guys. But yeah, I think Evil Geniuses, I'm excited to see what they bring not in terms of them competing for the top, 'cause I don't think they will personally, but what they do in terms of nurturing these young guys. So I don't know, interesting. But that was a massive tangent. But I really do like the link between football, which is a massive part of my life, and then esports as well. And I thought,
I think it's becoming more like traditional sports anyway. So yeah, I think that's a good link to make.
But no, really, whenever it comes out, I think it's like next week at some point. Check out Gio's video. It might even already be out as we speak. Who knows? But that's what they're going for. Of course, NRG, the theirs as well. I mean, obviously the big talking point is Ardis, isn't it? I mean, it kind of has to be. We can get the whole list here from.
I mean, it's literally Optic versus plus Ardis. So
yes, exactly. That's it. There you go. There's all the big names: Crashy, Som, FNS, Victor. It's pretty standard.
Chet even.
I mean, just to see how Ardis brings his style of play. Because I would say NRG's play style and Artis's calling style are very different.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see how they blend it. Also, Chet as well. Chet likes the system. He had the same thing in CS:GO. He has the same thing in VALORANT. He has his system, right? Which he's always brought along, and it's it's Marma, right? You either love it or hate it, kind of thing.
It's the reason Optic won, and it's the reason Optic have been losing since they won.
Precisely, literally spot on, right? It's live and die by the sword in a way, right? And I'm interested to see how it works essentially, but because I would love to see some of Artis's EU orientated play style and
maybe
stuff.
there's some more flexibility because that was that was the sword they fell on.
Yeah. I mean, we
they
saw
were
it,
not
right?
flexible. They won an international major, and then everybody understood how they played and beat them.
Yeah, and this happens, right? If you don't adapt, you will just die. And Optic never adapted. So bloody hell, I hope Artis helps his team adapt. If they do, though, they actually then once again become actually very scary. I know obviously they've lost their heavy hitter. It's fair enough. But no shame to the other guys on the team. They can pull their weight, right? So
yeah, especially Crashies and Victor, especially are going to be scary still. And Artis is always scary. He's terrifying, in person and in game. This could be an incredible team. I need to see a bit more.
Yeah.
Outside influence. I think I hope Artis isn't shut down in terms of what he brings to the team.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, we'll literally know from game one of the kickoff tournament because this is the thing, right? I think everybody, including ourselves and anybody watching at home, we know how they play. It is a thing. Like, I think when they won their first big LAN, it was a bit of a shock to the EU boys, the EMEA boys, and the APAC region as well, about how they play, how aggressive they are at times, the way in which they change the tempo. They're kind of slightly off comps as well.
Yeah,
it was different. It was a bit of a shock factor. Teams couldn't adjust in time, didn't know how to play against it, and then there was a big heavy break in between the two big tournaments, and everybody learned how to play against the big hitters of Optic. I was playing against a scary side that seemed untouchable previously. And they just got read like a book. And even teams that never should beat them, were making it look pretty comfortable because it was just exactly as they prepared for. Yeah. Which is obviously never a good thing. So, you hate to see it, but I don't adapt. See what happens. MLBR, you've already spoken about them. It's some of the old guard who were. I mean, they were good in the early days, but I think they haven't really.
He is still one of the best raises in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think it's it's not like, okay, when I say this, I don't mean it in a bad way particularly. It's just whoever was left from the Brazil region.
You love to see it, you hate to see it.
Yeah, it was a lot of the best Brazilians currently were picked up by Crew.
Yes.
And then picked up by Leviathan, and now, I mean, Made in Brazil is going to be a Brazilian roster. That's clues in the name.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, they kind of just went for everything else. It's the same as Talon, I think, did a very similar thing. It was just kind of, oh wait, no, sorry, Talon is Thai. I meant Genji picked up pretty much every Korean that wasn't picked up by
every free agent.
DRX.
Yeah, literally.
It's a similar thing there, maybe a little more proven, but still, I don't think they're going to be the highest performing team in the Americas region. I don't think they're going to be the lowest performing team. I
think, there's definitely a world in which they lean on the experience or something that can help them out. Yeah. I think they kind of go into that slot that we were already talking about with them being dark horses, but I think basically, what you were saying,
going to be a mid-table team.
Exactly right. I think they at the start they were actually a very scary roster. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, he still is, so he's still actually an absolute animal. But I think the rest of them, they were really good at the start, and it's the same thing about where players and teams don't adapt, so they don't keep up with the meta as well is another thing, right? They don't keep up with the meta. People understand how to play against you, and then it all kind of crumbles. And we do see this, right? I mean, it happens. So I'm hoping that obviously, the players that all know each other very well, or from the same region, they've played together before. I'm hoping they've obviously got the firepower in terms of individuals like Heat, for example. But I'm hoping, I don't really care about the firepower. I'm hoping the system changes. I hope it's not the same stale, thing that led to these guys sort of going out our mouths in terms of them being notable names in a way. Obviously, the very good players, notable, definitely domestically speaking, but I think there's more that needs to happen for them to be scary on an international scale.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, on that tangent, we can take a little look into Europe. So we'll have a look.
Yeah, our place.
Our place.
This is oh boy. I mean, there are some scary rosters here as well. Maybe nothing on the level of C9 in terms of just let's pick up every good player. But I mean, Na'Vi straight away.
Yeah, Na'Vi is a good one to talk
FPX.
about. FPX?
With CNED.
I'm finding Bodog's little listing. It's a very good thing to go off.
Oh yeah.
Scrolling. There we go. As you can see, it is just a bit
of FPX plus CNED. That's scary.
It's a gold squad. I mean, we know what FPX were like. I think one thing that's very interesting as well is, I mean, this is something that definitely worth talking about, is that, you know, there was obviously, I think Na'Vi had a tough time in terms of what roster they wanted to pick up, because obviously, as everyone should know, there's a pretty massive geopolitical situation going on between Ukraine and Russia right now. Na'Vi's a Ukrainian organization, and rightfully so, don't want to give any money to any Russian players, or, you know, money essentially, or players who live in Russia, which end up being taxed by the Russian government, and directly funding a war against their country in a way, right? So, perfectly understandable.
And you can see now, you could see it in their announcement. If you went onto their website and you took a look at their Navi's announcement for this, the two Russian players who are in that squad, Shao and Soigetsu, are not listed as Russian. They are, in fact, you look at it on Wikipedia as well, they're listed as non-representing. They are not representing their country. And I'm assuming they're going to go for they're going to try and get citizenship in whatever country that
Na'Vi's good at that.
Camping.
I'm assuming, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it is well, actually no, it wouldn't be Ukraine. They used to have like massive
Berlin is going to be where they are.
So but, I mean, German citizenship is apparently one of the more easy ones to get, so potentially in a world in which they could. I think obviously, you know, it was obviously a big thing for Na'Vi in terms of, if they were to pick up Russian players, they had to agree to a few other things on top of just, you know, signing the contract, which was they can't represent a country which is against war, against the organization's country, and they can't live and pay taxes in Russia. So I think there's a lot of other things, and there may even be a world in which you know, that was, you know, it was nearly make or break, right? I think, you know, Na'Vi took a little bit of time to talk about who their roster was going to be, and I think when it came, I think there was a lot of speculation as well, because everyone knew that, you know, they're a CIS-based organization, but they can't pick up Russian players, or definitely not Russian players who represent Russia. So the way they've gone about it, of course, is I'm assuming they're going to get residency somewhere else, as you mentioned. That they won't be paying taxes in Russia, and they're not representing the flag. So first of all, credit to the players as well, because I think that's a big thing to do.
That's a difficult thing to do.
A country you've grown up in, you spent your entire life in, you know, is your country. You kind of have to discard it. I mean, you know, there's definitely, obviously, they'll understand why. They're not idiots in that sense. But I think it's more than just a roster announcement. I think it has a, you know, the more kind of political stance to it as well. So I'm glad to see that they've managed to figure something out. And on top of all of that as well, it's a very, very scary roster. So I think they actually do go up there already in terms of EMEA as contenders, as being the big hitters, like, comfortably.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's FPX who, despite you know, having a roster that was 3 of 5 of which were from CIS, and you know, having difficulty, obviously, especially Angel with their situation. Despite that, still qualifying for one event and not being able to make it. They were qualifying for one Masters event and then doing incredibly well in another one. Like, FPX is scarily good. And then you've also got CNED, who is historically one of the best operator players in the world.
Exactly.
Like, if that works together, which I'm assuming it will. It's only one player different. And I'm assuming they'll all be speaking English as per usual.
Yes, I'm assuming.
Because they have a Swedish player and a Turkish player now. It's scary.
And also, just adding things, well, Doomrose is a head coach. I mean, he's so well loved for more reasons than just him being a nice, funny, lovable dude. He's bloody good.
Up for the Game Award.
Yeah, he's damn good at what he does. He's seriously a good coach, and I'm really interested to see how he implements CNET into towards kind of his system, which has been so successful previously. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Na'Vi bring, because I think they go down as, for me, one of, if not the most exciting EMEA announcement. Just because of, it's not only, really cool in terms of how, well, first of all, it's really cool having Na'Vi as an organization involved in Valorant. They're legendary within CSGO. I know they're massive in other games as well. And it's awesome to have, an organization of that stature in Valorant on a tier 1 scope. So, and with the team that they've got, damn, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. All right, of course. Another one of the bigger organizations that is definitely worth talking about, Team Liquid. Signing coming through for them. This side has got a lot of the kind of the names that we already remember. I think obviously the big one for me is Nats coming through. He was obviously one of the more prominent players back in kind of the earlier stage of 2022. That guy was absolutely farming. And of course, him joining Liquid now, I'm liking it. Because, with like Scream leaving, for example, there's a big hole in terms of how this roster's going to run. Of course, they're kind of losing their basically fragging IGL in a way. So how does this side go? And I think the sides they go for, I'm pretty impressed with it. I think it still should be a competitive roster.
Yeah, again, this is one of those kind of like old guard teams in that, mech kind of players in Nats and Redcar, and then you got Safe, Soulcast, Yampi. Soulcast and Yampi, obviously insanely solid players for Team Liquid, but the names you thought of when you thought of Team Liquid Valorant were Nevera and Scream, obviously. Getting in players that were at the very... Nats was considered one of the best players in the world when Gambit was winning Masters back in the day.
That's it.
So, he was the king of the rats, and that's if you're not going to have Scream and Nevera on your team, Nats and Redgar are a pretty good replacement.
Yeah, exactly. One thing to mention as well, I know Bodog, when he's doing this post about this, he's got Yampi and Demasik contract listed ending 2023. So I'm wondering if that's anything in terms of when it ends 2023. Is that them seeing out their contracts and then they get replaced, or is it a case of, maybe starting the kickoff tournament, if the team doesn't gel well, Demasik and Yampi go?
Maybe, yeah.
Could be interesting.
You could see that. A lot of squads are going for big squad depth now. You can see there are some 10-man rosters.
Which I do question, I gotta say. That's a lot of question marks in my mind.
It's interesting. The teams weren't allowed to sign academy teams. Maybe they're just kind of skirting the rules a little bit there. But hey, I think it's good to have squad depth. I don't know if 10 is completely necessary, but hey.
Yeah, we'll have to see. What happens with those two? I think, especially kind of for me, both Demas and Yampi, they've been here since the earlier days, and Yampi has always been someone who was unbelievable. He was brilliant in CS until his cheating allegations came to light. So obviously he kind of just jumped ship off the back of it. But he's always been mechanically unbelievable. So it'd be kind of sad to see him get dropped. I don't really know where he'd go. I've always kind of seen him as sort of synonymous with Liquid for such a long time now. So I'm not really too sure where he'd go. Where someone like Scream, who of course in the same way synonymous with Liquid, you can see him going to a French roster the way he has, right? So I don't know what happens to Yampi, because I don't think he'd want to drop into playing like a Northern Europe whatever in like tier 2. So yeah. We'll have to wait and see. Giants, another one coming through. Another big organization as well. That again, having these guys come through. Another thing to mention as well, I really like the announcements they did. I gotta say, like the little profiles of the spinning images. They're like
the little like Microsoft 99 kind of thing going on. It is very cool. Actually, no, that's more like an Apple, a classic Apple. That's awesome.
I like it. And a couple of players that we've seen. I know. Rhyme definitely thought one to come to the first point in mind, Hoodie, and then of course Nuki as well. Those two for me. They've been around for a long time. Rhyme as well. I got to cover a bit of him. I got to cast him, and he's a pretty talented fella. So it looks like a decent team, but I think in the grand scheme, I don't really see this team being maybe like title contenders. But they go into the dark horse category, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle to get towards Masters for EMEA, but they're capable of it. Obviously, this team has the potential to be really good. Cloud is from Na'Vi, obviously. Of course, these guys have the potential to be really good. Obviously, Nuki is one of the best raisers in the world. And all of this, it's got the potential. It's just they're gonna have to fight a little harder than the likes of Team Liquid and the likes of these higher teams up in EMEA. So
I think it's one of those things, right? If they ever made it to like a Masters or anything of that caliber, it would be like, oh, what a story this is, you know, underdog, because they're not really expected to make it the full distance. But, you know, if they can remain competitive, they've got the spot anyway. So, you know, remain competitive, see what they can do. Potentially, we could see some beautiful story coming through. But, of course, moving on to another one. A pretty big one as well, Heretics coming through. There was a lot of question marks about what Heretics were going to do, kind of the Iberian organization, what's their role going to be heading in towards VCT and whatnot. I think the big rumor from the get-go was Mixwell, of course. You know, Spanish org, Spanish player. Kind of makes sense. But I'm going to say, after a lot of covering him recently within Spike Nations, I'm really impressed with Avova. I think he's a seriously talented dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second Spanish roster, and they haven't really, like, whereas Giants didn't really go for a Spanish team fully, they Heretics have definitely kind of gone all in on that.
Yeah.
And it's a good team. Like, this is they picked up pretty well. I say it's a Spanish team. I mean, it's not. There's one Spanish player on it.
Yeah.
But you know, it feels like they have picked up pretty much. It's almost a super team in the Cloud9 sense, in that they've picked up people from everywhere that they think will work with their team.
Yeah,
I respect the vision. I mean, this looks really, really convincing. It's what have we got? 2 players from Ascend, and then the rest of them are kind of just from everywhere. And I think Boo's actually out of left field choice for IGL, but
I
think that could really work.
It could work. I mean, for another one to go alongside it, I mean, both Weber and Neil Zenia, I mean, they've been around for a while in terms of kind of the coaching analyst side. So, I mean, for me, this roster looks okay. But again, it's a similar thing where I don't really see... I don't see yet how it gels, is the way I'm putting it. But
it's very, like... pieced together, right? From
a
lot of different teams, and it feels like maybe...
And play styles as well, right? I mean, they're so different across the board.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be interested to see how it works. Obviously, they've got a lot of time to scrim together and stuff like that. So,
of course,
if it doesn't work, I mean, it doesn't work. But I think I believe in this team. I think it's an interesting project, and if it works, it'll be really cool.
It would, yeah. I mean, of course, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, how things pan out. I think also there's been a lot of question marks above Mixwell's head. I think that's another one. I mean, a lot of people saying that maybe he actually isn't of that caliber to be playing Tier 1. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity for him to kind of prove people wrong, because, I mean, there's been a lot of doubters on his name. So, you know, can he, you know, move past it? Because I think he'll see, you know, quite publicly, there's been quite a few people that have been, you know, not really in his support, but credit to Heretics for kind of taking a gamble on it. And of course, they've kind of cashed in on a Spanish organization, arguably the biggest Spanish player as well. So it's going to be huge for domestic support. And it's always good to, like, even if you're not a team that's competing for the top of the top, to have just a little bit of, you know, support from the more domestic side, having you know, that kind of, you know, in a sense, a nation behind your back, quote unquote. So I don't know. I'm interested. It's piqued my interest in this roster. I don't know how competitive it will be, because it just seems very kind of mix and match, but who knows, right?
Yeah, exactly. You see rosters like this kind of come out of nowhere and then suddenly do really well sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they really made a run for it, but I don't see them as on the level as like Na'Vi, or Fnatic, or Team Liquid. So
yeah, exactly that. I'll have to wait and see. I think there's going to be... It already smells like a roster change inbound if you know, it doesn't work immediately, just because of how mixed match is. But who knows? Carmine Corp, I think this was one of the biggest announcements. And I think a lot of people had been alluding to when Carmine Corp came into... when they got into VCT, and we knew, you know, a humongous organization with, I mean, probably one of the main things I mentioned about Carmine Corp is the insane backing they've got in terms of finances. They have got a hell of a lot of money behind this organization. I mean, we'd even heard and seen kind of what happened when Carmine Corp played Vitality in the VRL French, and they like filled out a stadium and stuff like that.
Just with their own fans. They just hosted a watch party,
nuts.
and well, actually not a watch party. It was more of a home, like what would you call it? The players were playing on stage.
It was on stage.
It was just their players.
Yeah, it was
interesting.
It was an insane thing that they can pull off. So I mean, the Carmine Corp, the support that they have is just that bonkers anyway. And then now that they've
got Scream and Nivera.
I know. So they've got like not only kind of an insane support behind this roster or this organization. I mean, anything they do or touch, they just get unlimited praise immediately.
I mean, they've got the best of the best from France and Belgium now.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, it's a scary roster. Scream and Nivera, of course. I mean, those two are just as big as they get. I mean, Scream is as big as it gets when it comes towards kind of just having an identity and having kind of someone to be the face of your organization, right? It's not a bad person have it scream. He's just as good as they get, kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Screaming Nevera, of course, played in Spite Nations recently. They farmed it. They're very much still hot at the moment. But then also you look around it, the players they got in support. I mean, XMS, another humongous name, a guy who's been involved in esports within France for like a decade now. I mean, this guy is, he's got the longevity about him. So I don't know. I'm actually impressed, and I think this is more than the likes of a Heretics or a Giants. Actually, a competitive roster in the sense that they could make deep runs in the likes of a Masters.
This could be, they could really get up there, and for a roster that builds around a region, that's impressive, because the other teams that are getting up there are not building themselves specifically around the region. Yes, Na'Vi kind of goes for the CIS core and whatever, but they're going for really, really good players. I don't mind if they're from a specific region. These guys have gone, okay, we want all French kind of, the kind of French-Belgian players.
French speaking.
And also we're going to be one of the best teams in the league. Because fuck you, that's why.
Exactly.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, and do you know what, though? A lot of respect to Garmin Corp as well, because they know that their identity is French speaking, right? They know that that's it. It always has been, and it always will be, right? I mean, where you see a lot of teams who maybe drift away from that. Vitality, another French roster, a French organization who drifted away from being a French roster within one active French player, and then like one French sub in quotation marks, or just like some bullshit way around the VRL things. But credit to them. And as you said, like, the fact that they've kind of stuck to their roots in terms of being a French-speaking team, and they've got a very solid roster. It's not often you see that anymore, because I mean, just kind of all over every sort of esport, you're seeing most teams now just kind of start to drift into international rosters, because it works, right? A lot of people speak English, or the vast majority of people speak English, so you can make international rosters extremely viable, and this is kind of seems to be also the precedent a bit. With VCT, right? I think a lot of people are going quite international, and we saw some of those South American rosters. There was, only one player from one country, or from all five. Yeah. So, it's good to see. It's good to see. I'll have to wait and see if it pans out in the way that they're hoping. But I gotta say, I'm impressed. I'm looking forward to it. Moving swiftly on, Koi. This one, more than kind of being the roster itself, it's Trex joining. Of course, George Gades was the one to break this one, but they will field Trex, Calder, Shados, Wolfen, Starks, Barber, and then Trex is coming through in 2023.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced by this. They still haven't announced this roster. It feels like it's
very late, isn't it?
I mean, again, this is the third Spanish org in this one.
Bodog did something, actually. Yeah, here we
go. I think all of these Spanish orgs have been fighting for a lot of players. And, I feel like Koi is probably the weakest from what I've seen so far.
I like Calder.
Still, nothing... Yeah, I like Calder. Calder's a good one. Shados,
Wolfen farmed in VRLs as well, to be fair to him. Yeah, he was a bit of a farmer. But, I mean, at the same time, can he step up, right?
I don't know. It feels like with, Calder, Shados, Starzo, it feels like they've just picked up kind of everyone that wasn't picked up from VCT. And that's, respectable. But I don't think it's going to, be top of the league in any way, shape,
I think more towards the other way, to be perfectly honest. I think realistically, though, I don't think Koi have that much pulling power as an organization. I think, first of all, I don't know how much money they have. I mean, apparently they have a fairly decent amount from what I've heard.
They're backed by, which footballer is it now?
Yeah.
That's the question. Is it PK?
Oh, is it? Okay, right. That might be it.
I need to check. I need to check now. Hold on. Yeah, Gerard PK and Ibai.
Yeah, I know they had... So they started. So Koi was it the one that was started by a player or something, and then they got investors on board or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's one of the classic kind of footballer makes a esports org.
Yeah, so some homegrown.
But it's also Ibai, which is some Spanish caster, I think.
That's it. Yeah. So
a league caster.
Yeah, so Ibai, I think from the stories I've kind of done my research into it a little bit, but Ibai started it and then got investors on board. And whatnot, and then of course somehow brought in the likes of PK, which is pretty sick to be fair to him. But I mean realistically, on paper, this looks like
it's
not
a
weakest.
H manager funded esports org.
No, exactly.
Which is what you kind of like a Fnatic or like they have investors with multi-million, that's
He likes a guild who like sponsors
kind of what you need
by
to make
Sky
a
and whatever.
good esports org nowadays, like Cloud9 and Sentinels and stuff like this.
Optic, huge money behind them as well.
People who start an esports org with a vision and then get massive investors with like hedge funds to join them, and that's what you kind of need nowadays. And Koi isn't really one of those for me, which is. It's respectable that they've got themselves into VCT with that, because we all know a bunch of orgs that were snubbed from VCT which have that kind of backing.
Yeah, you're spot on, right? I mean,
it's not an amazing team, but I mean, they still haven't confirmed anything. You never know.
Exactly. I mean, what Bodog's put here, that Starkso, he's not on the list, but he's obviously heavily rumored. But I think generally speaking, it is. On the weaker side is probably just a better way to put it. Who knows, man? I mean, I think it's tough to make any judgment calls at this point, but it is definitely one of the weaker teams. So I think for Koi, they've got the work cut out. Well, we can move on to one of the more stronger teams, of course, that being Fnatic, right? I think everyone was kind of wondering what was the plan for Fnatic. Again, the announcement pretty cool, just a little quick one. But if I'm right saying that they made their debut at Superdome, right? Was it
without Chronicle? Yeah,
yes.
They hadn't signed Chronicle yet, so it was still got to remember which player they replaced. It starts with an M. That's what I remember.
Starts with an M.
Oh boy! Wow, my knowledge is not coming through very well here.
You can tell
Mystic,
early morning.
There you go. Mystic was replaced, but he still played during Superdome. So Mystic was replaced by Chronicle. Leo did play at Superdome.
Yes.
He was convincing. I wouldn't say he stood out as something that's going to change the team, but do Fnatic need changing?
Yeah, I think realistically for Fnatic, they seem to have all the puzzle pieces, just not the right idea just yet. It's probably one way to put it.
They've got their star duelist in Durka. They've got their personality in IGL and Boaster. They've got Alfier in terms of, kind of that backup kind of duelist, or not duelist, but kind of fragging power. And it's a good base already, and Fnatic, they've already proved themselves. I don't know if they need to make any like massive changes,
I think realistically, right, it's just about they themselves know that they've got everything that they need to have a title winning roster. It just hasn't worked out yet. I mean, we've even seen kind of recently in Istanbul, right, where it was like, for Fnatic, they were up there in one of the higher kind of potential rosters who could make a really deep run, and then it was kind of they didn't show up on the day kind of thing. I think that's really been the story of Fnatic, where they've been kind of so close yet so far in a way, and everyone's expected big things of them. They haven't quite lived up to expectations. So maybe with a couple of changes coming through, they've made a few tweaks, potentially even as well, a lot going down to kind of a bit of a master plan coming through from Boaster, right? What he wants to do in terms of his calling style. This could be an actual scary roster in terms of being up there in consideration. But at the moment, it kind of feels like you don't really know, because we've always wanted to be so positive towards Fnatic, and they not let us down. I think that's quite a mean way of putting it, but they haven't quite lived up to the really high expectations of being dominant. Of course, they won a long time, about a year ago now, roughly. But, even still, I think it's... they haven't quite since then, especially in 2022, they haven't really lived up to the kind of being as dominant as we potentially thought they might be, especially with the stars that they were bringing in, right? I think that's it. So, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Because, it looks like it could be a decent squad, but it's very, very hard to see. But you want to support, well, I mean, we want to support them in a way because they're a UK organisation. So it's good to have them. And of course, Boaster being a UK boy, you kind of want to support the domestic scene a little bit. So who knows? And I mean, it is what it is. But Foot, one of the better teams from VRL.
I didn't think a VRL team would just keep their roster.
Yes, I mean, I think this is
they're the best team from the VRLs. I mean, they won the finals, but like they didn't make they added one player. Yeah. That's it.
And they added the captain, which I did quite like the little announcement thing, adding the captain. But I think this is I think it shows two sides. It shows a kind of loyalty to the roster that did them well and served them well within VRLs, right? And of course, they won, right? And they weren't expected to win by any means. I think a lot of people look towards Vitality probably as the number one to take it. And of course, they got to the final, credit to them. But a lot of people look towards Vitality just because, you know, heavy hitters on the team in terms of the individuals, you know, Bone Cold, whatever. But, you know, credit to them. Foot were very good in VRL. They were comfortably the better side. You know, they went through the upper bracket and they made it look very easy. Kind of for the most part, I don't think they dropped about 3 maps across the entirety of playoffs or something bonkers like that. And I think 2 of them were to Vitality. So, Foot, they're a good team. I think it's quite risky to make only one change. So we're gonna have to wait and see whether this pays off, because this could be something that really comes back to bite them, where it's a team that aren't really trying to test at the tier 1 level, and then they're just thrown into the deep end of tier 1 against, you know, surrounded by huge names. But I also got to give a lot of credit to Foot for showing loyalty, because in the same way, once they've got VCT coming through, I know how much money they're going to make in terms of from VCT, and they could have just been like, well, why don't we just put all of this into getting a completely new fit, like new 5? So, you know, I kind of respect them for it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you've been watching the G-Loot Clash, you will see how well it's working out for them so far, and that is not particularly well. They got knocked out immediately. And not, hey, it wasn't terrible, but they lost to several teams that are either unsigned or did not make it into franchising, and that is not a good sign to start off things. But hey, could be worse. Could be BBL, who were a VCT team and also didn't do well.
Yeah.
Okay, they got past the first round, but they lost 2-0 to Giants, and it wasn't really close.
Yeah, I think, it actually works quite nicely, because BBL is the next team we were going to talk about. We were going to go, and look at their Twitter like we have done with the others, but I think they've done it in 5 separate posts, so
yeah.
It's just kind of
okay, so 3 of them they're keeping, really. That I think is the best way to put it. So Turco, Kushner X, and Aslan they've kept, which... all proven players. I mean, BBL has been a VCT team for a while now. They signed Brave, who played for Supermassive Blaze, for a long time. And Elite, who I don't remember what he did last. I think it was mostly just VRLs for... can't remember which team. Fenerbahce, maybe?
He played for Fenerbahce. Spot on.
Hey, look at me go. Which it was a team that did very well in the Turkey.
They finished 3rd,
VRL.
4th, so in Turkey. So fair play.
But yeah, again, this is a team that tried to build off of a existing roster. It was a VCT roster. It was not a VRL roster. They tried to build off of that, and it's not very good from what I can see. It's not particularly convincing. Again, this is just another team that I think is going to be bringing up the rear, and which is, I think, how do I put this? Neither of the Turkish teams look very good to me, and this one looks like the better of the 2.
Yeah, and you know what? That's quite surprising when you consider that the Turkish region, they have some of the best players when it comes to mechanical prowess. I mean, it's even like a bit of a meme in terms of you'd never want to play Turkish players on LAN because they're so scary. Yeah. So, you know, I feel like I'm hoping for BBL they have some sort of idea up their sleeve where it's like, okay, you know, we're going to give this roster a shot. Of course, it's taken with 3 that they already know. And it also could be a case of contracts as well, right? Where these guys are locked into contracts to maybe the end of 2023, which it seems to be pretty common. We kind of mentioned with the Yampy side of things. But, you know, across the board, a lot of players, you know, they were picked up maybe like 2020. And the kind of thing is like a 3-year contract isn't actually that, you know, isn't that audacious anymore in esports, where it used to be. It used to be like a 1-year contract and that's it. But like now, I mean, like, you know, you see players. I mean, like, even for example, I know... within CSGO, a couple of players are signed until the end of 2027. So, I mean, there's like, it's not uncommon anymore to have players just locked in for like multiple years. And I think it's probably a case where these guys who were brought in quite a while ago are probably locked in on like 2-3 year contracts, where maybe a case of like, well, we're paying them, we may as well have them to play. It might not be the strongest roster. And then hopefully a case of, if it doesn't work out, which I don't really see a way in which it does work out, and then in terms of them being competitive, maybe we see them then go for kind of, a little bit more, well, I say homegrown talent, but you know what I mean? Like some of these like pug stars who come through from the Turkish region. There seems to be an endless supply of them who come through from Turkey, and maybe they could bolster this roster with we kind of mentioned earlier about kind of the ecosystem, about what, it's a really good way for people to kind of start to show their prowess. So hopefully we get to see, some come through and essentially pad out what are these weaker rosters, like your BBLs, like your Foots, who we don't really see a world in which they do become competitive at the tier 1 level. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully.
They need to be really careful as well. Footballists and BBL, they're the Turkish representatives, but fans are not going to support a Turkish team that is losing every game. They're going to start supporting Na'Vi, where CNED is there, and they have a Turkish representative. Maybe it's not a Turkish team, but they'll start supporting that. If these teams don't do well enough, they're going to be bringing up the rear. They're not going to get as much funding as the other teams. They're going to, lose sponsors. They're going to, nobody...
And domestic support, you're spot on, right? I think that's one of the most important things. If they lose their region, right? I mean, that's what makes Turkey so good. It's like their fans are die hard. It's the same thing with Brazil, for example. Those Brazilian teams, Loud, for example, the fucking support that they have is bonkers, actually bonkers. So, I mean, you're spot on. I think if Turkey lose their domestic support, it becomes worrying because they don't look competitive yet. But this could be a classic case where we just eat our words, right? Give it 6 months' time, kickoff tournament happens, we get the starting towards tier 1, tournaments starting to ring off, heading towards the latter parts of May, start of June, whatever. Both of these sides could be, or one of them could be competitive, and then we're like, okay, well, there was nothing to worry about. But at the moment, it seems like we have to kind of tread with caution a little bit with these two.
Yeah. They could do really well, and it could just be first time playing together kind of nerves, but
exactly.
Yeah, right now it just doesn't look convincing. That's the thing, because look, okay, we're moving on to Vitality next, and they looked convincing. Maybe not the best. They didn't do as well as I think they would have hoped in the G-League clash, but at the same time, they came top 4.
That's not bad.
Good enough. Not bad at all. They got, pretty much everybody got kind of dumpstered by Na'Vi, and surprisingly, Parla Esports.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Deeper than I thought.
They're a Turkish team, right? That didn't make franchising, and yet...
And yet looked like one of
every other Turkish team.
And they looked like one of the more... they looked one of the most strongest teams. And this is where we were kind of saying about when we see teams and players rise through the ranks of tier 2 and lower, where maybe then your Foot and your BBL are like, okay, well, Parla just smoked us and everybody, to be perfectly honest. Maybe that's where we go looking to find any talent.
I reckon as soon as some contracts are over for BBL and Footballists, they're going to be poaching from Parla real quick, because that was surprising. But back to Vitality, they made 3 new signings. Mulsi, Twist, and Mulsi. Actually, all of those. No, 2. Mulsi and Mulsi and Destrian, both from OG LDN, and then Twiston would have been from Big, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
All VCT teams, not particularly high performing VCT teams. Although OG LDN did do very good in the last chance qualifiers. But anyway.
Yeah.
Again, it's a team that is a VRL team bolstered by VCT talent. They seem to do well. They seem to know what they're doing.
I like Bone Cold. I think of the VRL players, he was up there with kind of being comfortably one of the best. That's probably the way I'd put it.
Definitely.
I mean, he was one of the biggest. Obviously, he'd had tier 1 experience previously anyway, but I think for me, if I had to kind of list off a couple of those VRL players, it would be the likes of him. I mean, over towards Foot. I mean, Molj was an absolute farmer. Kiwi was a fucking beast as well. So, Bone Cold was definitely up there in terms of being one of the better players. So I'm glad they kind of stuck their ground with him. The rest of the roster actually looks very good, right? I mean, Sender's another pretty big name. I like Salah as the head coach as well. I see a bit of the stuff he does on Twitter. Same for Gorilla, but I mean, both of them, I see the stuff they do on Twitter. They're very integrated in the scene. They do a lot of good work. So I'm hoping for good stuff from this team, because you kind of want to root for them in a way.
It's a good start from them. I think, again, even that is not a result that they particularly would have wanted. I assume these guys would have wanted to get into the top 2, get into the grand finals in that one. They came up against Navi in the semi-finals. Not much you can do about that. Yeah. Exactly. Navi are a super team, and they did well against them. It's what was it, 13-11, 13-8, something like that, and that's not bad against a team that was FPX plus CNED.
Yeah, and they farmed as well into the final. I remember watching the Icebox map, being like, okay, these guys. They know their shit, right? I mean, I think that they are, as you mentioned, a super team. So the fact that they can go toe to toe with a super team, it's positive signs. I think there's still work to be done. It's probably the best thing.
I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be a top contender for Masters and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't think they wanted to be. Otherwise, they would have made a few more really impactful signings.
Yeah, Vitality have got money as well. They've got pulling power. They could have brought bigger names, but I think they've got other ideas.
The idea is we have a good base. We want to, they don't need to start off right at the top. This team is good enough to get to the top eventually. I think they just need a lot of time together.
That's exactly it. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's another one where they go into the dark horse category, but on a much higher note than some of the others, where in terms of these guys, if they pick up wins against big names, it wouldn't be like it's a huge surprise. Like, oh yeah, of course. I mean, there's some pretty big names there themselves. Like, if they were to take wins against the likes of a Liquid or a Fnatic, I don't think people would be up in arms, be like, whoa, what an upset, like how big this is, because you can kind of see how they would be able to do something like that. But I don't think it would be consistent. And I think if they get consistent with this roster and start putting up, top 4 performances across the board and continue to have these deep runs, then they become, pretty scary, and we can kind of give them their due respect and whatnot. But I think, move on to the last region, Pacific, APAC. We can have a little look-see here. We'll start off with Global Esports, one of the biggest organizations in the APAC region. And what a mix as well coming through in terms of the players. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions about what Global we're going to do coming in towards VCT 2023, right? What was the kind of the decision-making going to be for them? First of all, kind of what was the plan in terms of where were they going to look in terms of players? Were they going to stick to a region? Because obviously they're obviously an Indian organization. Were they maybe just going to go for some sort of an Indian team? But, that would be at the same time a bit of a risk. But yeah, a very kind of spaced out roster. A lot of nations here.
Yeah, I mean, their name is Global Esports, I guess.
There you is in the name.
That was the idea. Interestingly, they didn't take part in. They kind of took part in the VALORANT in India Invitational. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the off-season event that was happening in India, they kind of took part of it, but not as Global Esports.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I don't know if they. They played with their kind of old roster. Some of the players are still on Global Esports, but it's a full Indian roster. I don't know what the idea was there. I don't know if they just weren't ready to play as a full roster.
What? I reckon it was contractual.
Yeah, I reckon it's either both contractual and the players haven't moved yet, or something to do with that. I don't know what's going on, but either way, they didn't do particularly well. It's not a problem. They're not going to be playing as that team. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see how that many regions and that many nationalities is going to meld together, because you're going to assume they're speaking English at that point. Because they've got 2 English-speaking players in Ronsky and Arin already, and then you've also got 2 Indian players. You've got 2 Korean players. You've got a Korean coach, and what is
Indonesian?
In Monnier. I don't know what's. I mean, that's also English-speaking, basically. So
yes, yeah.
God, it's going to be interesting. Hey, it's an experiment. It's a Frankenstein's monster of a team, and I am interested to see what's going to happen. But I don't expect them to be big contenders. I can't see.
It's just hard to imagine it, isn't it? Just because of how does this team have any synergy? That's the first thing.
Right.
I don't know. It's very interesting to see how this is going to work.
I can't see any strategic common ground between any of them, because every region played so differently, even up until at the end. Yeah. And I don't know what's going to happen. I genuinely don't. This is such a melting pot of a team.
It kind of feels like that with, in a way, this region where there's a lot of question marks about, like who's going to come out and out and be one of the best. You look towards mainly like the kind of predominantly Korean teams as being, you know, up there with some of the best. I mean, to mention as well, I mean, Aaron as well, I've liked some of the work he's done. I mean, we saw him with Exet, and they made deep runs. You know, obviously he was kind of part of that controversy with the turret, but they actually had, you know, a fairly decent run recently. So, and we know as an IGL what he can bring to the table. So, who knows? I think it's probably the better way to put it, because I think it's such a melting pot of different nationalities and different play styles. Is this going to synergize? Is there going to be cohesion? I don't know. I think it's impossible to call. And the fact that we haven't really seen them play yet as well is all the same. I think what you were kind of mentioning, you know, recently when the Indian Invitational, I think it's probably a case of where those guys who are already on the roster, the old roster, are probably locked in and in their contract where it says something like along the lines of, you know, all tournaments until the end of 2022 or something like that. That's not too uncommon. And then they do all the off-season stuff.
Eraser was there, the coach. So
yes,
but he was also alongside the old coach. I don't know. It was interesting.
We don't get given a lot of information, do we, from Global? They kind of just like these massive announcements and that's it. And you see like the announcements, they just blow out. So I remember this just like constantly being on my timeline because people liking and stuff and saying what's going to happen here.
I never know with the Pacific region whether that is because they don't use Twitter as much or whether that is because I am an idiot or whether it's because a lot of their announcements aren't going to be in English a lot of the time. I don't know. And it does make it difficult to see what's going on with them, but we do our best. And it's...
We'll be keeping an eye on them. It's probably the better way to do it. Yeah. I mean,
I think they're either going to be the best team in Pacific or the worst by a long way.
The individuals are good. That's the thing. So it seems like, you know, it could be really cool in terms of if you just going piece by piece, the puzzle pieces are there. It's just whether they actually fit together is the one way to do it. But who knows? I have to wait and see. T1 coming through. I mean, one of the biggest organizations, you know, just generally speaking, no matter the esport, everyone was thinking, okay, you know, what route do these guys go down? And I mean, what a roster. I mean, is probably the better way to put it. It's up there with one of the stronger ones, I'd probably say. I mean, just a Korean dominance has always been a thing within Valorant for the longest time. I mean, there's very little you can say on a bad note. I do actually really like what I'm seeing here from this roster.
Yeah, full on. I mean, what we expected, full on Korean roster, and they basically just gone, hey, every really insane Korean, come, yes, yours, we are ours now. I mean, Zeta and Munchkin, obviously, and then you've also brought in Ban from what? But Pittsburgh Knights. I think.
Oh yes,
which
yes,
obviously
they played
the top of tier 2 in NA, and then Sire player from Sentinels. No, not Guard. The Guard, sorry. Sire player from the Guard. And then Carpe from Philadelphia Fusion.
Oh, yes, from the old...
from Overwatch.
Yeah.
Overwatch. He's not playing that anymore. He was, as somebody who was a Philadelphia Fusion fan in the Overwatch League, my guy was cracked at Cassidy. I don't know how that's going to I mean, he has played... It's not like he's just going, I'm going to play Valorant now. He's played it a few times on stream and stuff like that. He's very good at the game.
I think we've got a thing for... I'm trying to find
but obviously, Valorant is different between matchmaking and competition. But hey, if they're you know hopeful that he's going to do something with that roster, then I back that because the dude is kind of insane.
Yeah, he was a cracked hit scan back in Overwatch. I think, you know, it's safe to say he's got the mechanics for it, right? We know that. It's just a case of what he's going to be like on a competitive stage because it is different. I think, you know, that's why it's always a bit of a risk getting, you know, ranked gods and poker gods because it's not the same in terms of a team environment. But I think for him, who's played team-based games already, but of course with Overwatch, streams a lot of it, as kind of we've seen with his announcement post, which is him streaming a lot of Valorant. We know he's good. We know he's playing in a team environment, so I don't think this is as big of a risk as I think a lot of people alluded initially to this being a massive risk because it's like, you know, we haven't seen him play, you know, Valorant yet in a team environment. What's he going to be like? Can he keep up? But it's like, this is a guy who's had years of experience in Overwatch at the top level of Overwatch, being seen as one of the better players in Overwatch, especially in one of the hardest roles out of a hit scan, a DPS player, right? So, I don't think this is as big a risk as a lot of people were kind of initially being all scared about, because he knows how to play in team environments and he can hold his own, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine. And as well, to add to it, when you look at the caliber of people they've got alongside him, even if he does, take a few weeks or a few games to get, up to scratch, they don't need to rely on him. That's the thing. So it's not exactly like it's like, right, if Carpe doesn't frag, we're fucked. They've got the talent there anyway. So, it's a good roster. I think they're going to have no issues being up there with one of the best and one of the most competitive in terms of just how good this team is on paper. I mean, they look good. And there's no issues that we were talking about with Global Esports of synergy. So, it does help.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. This is assuming DRX aren't changing anything, they've made one signing, Foxy, who played for a Korean team that probably most people from Europe aren't going to recognize. Actually, a Korean team? No, Japanese, I think. Reignite was a Japanese team. They
take your word for it.
Were pretty high up in Japan Challengers, but I don't think most people are going to recognize that. They didn't make any international events or anything like that. Obviously, that was Northampton, Crazy Raccoon, Reject.
Yes,
and Japan didn't really get great representation in terms of international tournaments, so nobody outside of APAC is probably going to recognize him, but he's a good player.
Yeah.
And it's a good signing. And I mean, DRX already had a stack team. You've got
they don't need to make
RB, Zest, Buzz, Mako. You don't need to make changes particularly. It's just for squad depth. Good signing. Whatever, nothing insane. And I think Gen G have, moving on, have kind of...
They've got
signed everyone else.
Yeah. So
they've signed everyone else.
Gen G done the opposite thing of kind of a T1 or a DRX or any of that lot, where it's like, you look towards a T1 and they've gone, right, who are the best players in this region? Let's just make an absolute super team. And then Gen G have been like, right, who's left? And it's just like anyone who was a free agent from the region who they knew that, it wouldn't be an issue, maybe gelling them together in terms of language barriers or anything like that. They've kind of just, right, okay, who's left? Let's make it work. So,
I mean,
who knows?
It's mostly like, so, okay, there's a few players from Reject. I think Intro's from Reject. King is from On Slazzers.
Okay.
You might remember as the content creator team from Korea back in the day.
Right.
I think, TS is also from On Slazzers. Just looking through right now to check. Another player from Reignite, Echo. So same team as the signing for T1, and then Desperado for Secret. I don't remember that team specifically, but this is literally just they made all of these changes. I mean, obviously Gen G were playing in NA before.
Yes.
And then they were like, we've got to move regions, and they just sign everyone they can. I think Meteor was from Northampton.
Right.
I can't remember if he was benched because he got replaced or if he was benched because of contract reasons. They were moving him.
Right.
So most of these players are from Japan League, but they're Korean players, and I don't know how it's going to work because I haven't seen most of them play. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
Just, none of them really ever made it to Masters or anything like that. So I wish I knew more. I wish I had watched more.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie and say I follow domestically speaking Valorant over there. I mean, I occasionally catch it if it's on and I'm just there doing nothing, but
I
it's
obviously
rare.
recognize King and TS from On Slazzers because they did well, but at the same time, these are not players that I was paying great attention to. So,
I mean, one thing I like to see
I don't think they're as good as DRX or T1.
No way. I mean, for me, it's nice to see Elmer Buddy. I think as a coach, I really like him.
Yeah.
I think he's been around for a long time in esports. I mean, he used to do some cracking content back in the day as well. So I mean, that's how I initially got to know him, was through his content way back when. But obviously, probably definitely a bit of a language barrier there. The Aussie fella, I don't really know. I'm assuming that's where kind of the support comes in of Bale, even the coach, where Elmer Buddy's the head coach, but then Bale's the second in charge, and I think it'll maybe be like, he translates or whatever.
I want to know if he's going to learn Korean or if
exactly. I think it's a tough one to learn, right? So,
yeah.
I also as well. There's probably also maybe even a case of where, as similar as we've kind of said before, where for the players, same for Elmer Buddy, where he probably was contracted and he probably still is contracted. Maybe it could have been a case of when he got originally brought on to Gen G, of course, then an NA roster. Of course, he would just speak English to them. But maybe he's still got like a year left in his contract. And then for Gen G, they're like, well, we may as well try and see if we can get him integrated with this, team that he doesn't speak their language. Is he going to learn Korean? Who knows? And it could even be a case of where, even though it's kind of fucked up, but you do see it occasionally, where Elmer Buddy is essentially getting Bale comfortable before Bale replaces him. Yep. Which I don't even think is that outlandish, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we don't really know. For Elmer Buddy, I think he's got a very tough task in his hands because he's moving to a new region, playing within a new region, with a new play style, in a new language, new scenario, country, He has got an absolute mammoth of a task. So I don't envy him in that sense. We'll have to wait and see what happens and whether, come the end of 2023, whether he's no longer part of the team because maybe his contract's up, which, again, I don't think that would be, too outlandish to maybe predict or whatever, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We can have a little look into Talon. Again, another organization coming through where everybody kind of questioned what was the plan, basically, what was going to happen here with Talon. Because
and then they signed X10.
Yeah,
well, Zozia.
Exactly.
Zozia, I guess.
Yeah,
I love the fact that Patapan is able to just go back and forth between Overwatch and Valorant as he pleases. The dude, he goes pro in Overwatch, and then he's like, oh, Valorant looks cool. He gets to Masters in Champions even, in Valorant, and then he goes, Overwatch looks cool again. I'll go back there, and goes pro there again, and now he's back and he's in franchising in Valorant.
Yeah,
I don't know what this dude is made of, but hey, I mean, it's literally just look. Thailand was basically, Zozia and X10 were one of the best APAC teams, and then now they're signed by the Thai org. It makes sense.
You love to see it. Love my boy Sushi as well.
Oh, Sushi boy's back. Sushi with the boys.
Sushi with the boys. But I mean, obviously, like this is a roster who actually could be relatively competitive as well, because I mean, we already know kind of individually like how good Patapan is. And then of course Sushi Boy, he's a bit of a like, people just love him for him, but also he's a very good player in his own regard. I think, generally speaking, I think this actually isn't too bad of a team. I don't know how good they'll be on a kind of an international scale. We'll have to wait and see. But
I think now that they're going to have to compete directly against Korea and all of this, it's going to be a bit more difficult for them because they were by far and away the best APAC team.
Yes, yeah.
Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and now they got way more on their plate.
But yes, it's going to be different. I reckon they've got the talent though to do really well. Yeah. We'll see. They never really stacked up against the bigger teams in Masters or anything like that. And some would say they had a kind of free route to Masters because obviously
in Southeast it was pretty easy.
They were the best team by a long way in their region.
And the Aussies
gave
really
them just a free seed, but But they did play well. They surprised us once or twice. I mean,
they played good Valorant, right?
I don't think they were really ever at the bottom of anyone's pick'ems either.
No.
I think a lot of the time that went to Japan or whatever. And they're a good team. And if they've already got experience together, which is a head start over pretty much every team.
Yeah, especially in this region, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I reckon to start off with, they're going to be at least mid-table, top table for APAC. So
I think it's one of those things where we can see kind of two sides to the sword here for Talon, where it's like of course previously they never really had a tough ride getting towards a Champions or a Masters or whatever, because within Southeast Asia and that kind of OCE kind of region as well, they were never really tested ever. So always a better side. So it means, there's a world in which if that continued, they would just get complacent and they would never improve. But I think now that they've got the Korean teams playing with them, they've got, obviously the entirety of APAC, I think it actually could kind of force this team to adapt and be better, which I think could actually work out really nicely for them. And if they're able to, learn to, adapt and overcome against those Korean teams who are generally seen as probably the better or the best in the APAC region, then when it goes to an international scale, I think they actually become a very, very scary threat. So I'm hoping it's actually for the better. I'm hoping it's a case of where it's like, okay, we know we've had it relatively easy for the last year and a half. Yep. Now we've got to, we've got to prove ourselves against not even like just the best in the region, one of the best, teams or some of the best teams in the world. And they know they're going to be, push the limit. So I think it actually could work quite nicely with Talon for just stepping up a little bit. We can move slightly on off the back of that. Detonate as well. Detonation, sorry. This is our last one, I think, if I'm right in saying, our last one to talk about. Detonation, nice and easy. Predominantly Japanese. A couple of Korean guys coming through. It looks alright, to be fair. I mean, there's a couple of names that people would recognise, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it looks like a very decent roster. Again, it's one of those things where you don't really know how it's going to do on the international scale, or even kind of domestically as well. Yeah. I don't think it's seen as the best of the best, but I can see the idea here, is the way I'm going to put it.
Yeah, they've basically just taken really good Japanese players. They added Soldam, who you will probably recognise as that cracked jet who gets the crazy raccoon. Mostly a content creator before now, but he did play for Northampton, I think, before he was signed as a content creator. And yeah, he's the dude who got a bunch. He was the Korean jet who got a bunch of clips and whatever. It's going to be a Japanese-speaking team. It makes sense. It's all good. I don't know. Like, it's a bunch of good players. Takage, obviously, you'll recognize him from Reject and Zeta Division before that. So he's been on the world stage twice. He played in Masters Berlin last year. Didn't do very well under Zeta Division.
They go into the heavy underdogs for me. Like, in terms of heavy, in terms of one of the better underdogs is what I mean. Not heavy underdogs. Yeah. So the underdogs, but like one of the if they made a big run, I don't think it would be a massive upset, but I don't think they're expected to on an international scale. The same way where we saw, previously, like a Zeta Division, for example, when they would pick up, a win or two earlier stages. And people were like, okay, not fair enough. We can see they're cooking. But then, we're not expecting to get top 8 or top 4 or anything like that. But it'd be cool if they did, kind of thing. And a couple of changes coming through might actually, start to at least open things up. But, I mean, before we even talk about international scale, they've got to do it domestically as well. And, again, it's very difficult with the teams they're coming against. So
yeah, and we didn't see how they... Okay, so the Gwangju Esports Series just finished yesterday as we're recording this. And we didn't see them play in that. They weren't invited. It was DRX, Genji, Zeta, and Talon, which is great because that gives us a really good idea of what's going to go down in APAC generally, because those are 4 of kind of the better, they're the Korean and Japanese.
I've got to admit, I didn't catch it, so.
DRX won handily, very not surprising in any way. Talon came second, but they got slapped about a little bit by DRX in the grand finals. Right. Zeta Division did not do very well, but Genji did even worse, which is incredible. It was. I
mean, kind of expected, right? I think they're actually quite expected.
Yeah, Genji bringing up the rear, the kind of the dregs. Sorry, that's such a terrible thing to call. Not the dregs of
the dregs of the region.
No, they're the kind of what was left after DRX and
who was a free agent.
T1 took all of the really good. We didn't see T1 and play in this either, unfortunately.
That would have been sick actually, T1 versus DRX, because realistically that probably would have been the final.
Exactly. I would have loved to see that, but obviously Talon did well. Talon kind of okay. Look, there was 2 sets of teams here. It was DRX and Talon, and then Zeta and Genji. I'm not gonna lie. There was a very big divide between those two, and there was a very big divide between Zeta and Genji as well. So look,
what was the end score in the final?
The grand final between DRX and Talon. It was 3-0 and all of the maps were 13-8.
Oh, it's pretty one-sided. Like, not even getting double digits is a bit of a like, ooh.
Yeah. Not getting double digits on your own map pick is,
I think, to be honest, the APAC region as a whole is going to be one of those regions where we will see these sort of gaps in like, and they'll be very, very obvious and evident compared to some of the others. I think South America probably, or the Americas, sorry, will be one of the closest in terms of, I think there's a world in which, obviously, I think C9 are going to be one of the best, if like one of the best teams in the region, maybe even the world. But then I think, the middle of the pack to the bottom is going to be relatively even. And even, there's real opportunities for underdog stories. I think in Europe, there's a couple of teams that should bring up the rear. We kind of mentioned the 2 Turkish teams, BBL, Foot, probably up there, potentially even a Koi as well. Maybe even Heretics, if they really don't gel well. So there might be a few Outlanders and all the big organization names. We should expect them to farm. But APAC, I think there will be it'll be very distinct, where it's like your DRXs and T1s who should win. I think more or less every time, kind of thing, unless things change.
With a lot of these teams is that they're very loyal to their players as well. And in the case of DRX, that's a very good thing. They have an amazing team already. But in the case of Zeta Division.
Yeah.
Not sure about that one. Look. Again, they're one of these teams. Like they're a good team. They have made it to Masters and stuff like that.
Sure.
Debatable if they may have had a free route there.
Yes.
Through Japan.
Exactly.
Look. I'm not saying that they didn't do anything to get to Masters, but it's an easier route than say Korea or say on the other side of things Europe, something like that.
Yeah.
Which are really, really insanely competitive.
Hard,
you have lots of insanely good teams. Data Division haven't quite had the same difficulty in getting to Masters events and stuff like that. Yeah. And it means that right now they're bringing up the rear. And can that change? Yes, 100%. But they don't look convincing, right? Genji and Zeta just do not look that amazing. I mean, Zeta looks considerably better than Genji, which is not surprising in any way. But yeah, Genji are going to have teething issues.
We kind of expected this.
They're newly put together out of just every free agent they could get their hands on.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that changes by the time we're in. They've got a long time to meld. You know, this is kickoff tournament is what, March or whatever. So
yeah, I think it's late Feb. I think I saw it. I think like February 21st. I think it was something like that. They've got time, right?
So anything could change. I just think the quality that DRX have over a team like Genji is miles apart right now.
And when they can scrim against each other on a more regular basis, I don't think everybody's living in the same area at the moment, but I think probably early 2023, everyone should be locked into all living very close to each other, and of course that will make scrimming all the rest a lot easier. So hopefully, I mean, those kind of things when you see scrims come through, it is very good in terms of evening the playing field. So. Yep. Who knows? We can hope. Yeah, we can hope. I mean, I think
I don't want to make massive judgments about a region that I'm not incredibly familiar with.
Exactly. Maybe we should bring on a special guest at some point to talk through. Maybe just before we start in towards the kickoff tournament, we can bring on a special guest. I'm not really too sure who would be the best option for that, but I can maybe think of one, but we'll talk about it afterwards. But we can kind of get a little bit more focus from someone who actually is involved kind of there and then. So we'll wait and see. But I think I'm right in saying that is all of them, right? We've done Data Division,
I think that's
Detonation.
Everything that's been announced.
Jesus, that was like an hour and a half's worth of orgs to go through.
Yeah,
so we did say last time,
and we're not even remotely done.
Exactly. We did say last episode that there was going to be a lot on our plate in terms of roster changes, because the roster lock was like the 14th of November, I'm pretty sure. So that's when they were locked in. Hence why Bodo did our lovely little list, because they were all locked in then. So that is it. But what we can do is move on to, I guess we could just call this one challenges, because it's our focus, is where we do
everything. It's what we're going to be focusing on next year. So it's
what we're going to be working on. So
most likely,
Bodorg
still don't technically know. Nothing has been announced about either of the leagues yet.
Exactly. Bodorg's done a little update post here, which is kind of, I'll just read out. Update, VALORANT Regional League we renamed to Challengers League. We already know that. So VRL equals Challengers.
Surprising.
And then, of course, this is how it all kind of works. We kind of know that this period, we saw the website earlier, which kind of shows, a bit
They never
more
really
technically
confirmed that the VRL was directly becoming Challengers,
exactly.
But it is, which means that teams that were in VRL retain their spot for Challengers.
That's sick.
The way it's going to work in Europe,
Because I think that was the thing that people were scared about at the start, which I think is also why a couple of orgs maybe even jumped ship early doors, because they just thought they weren't returning their spot and we're going to have to start again. And obviously, if you're paying players to start from the ground up, it could be a risk that doesn't actually end up paying off. So,
especially in Europe, where orgs don't pay their rosters.
Yeah, exactly that. So, VALORANT Regional League Northern Europe Polaris will just be VALORANT Challengers League Northern Europe Polaris. It's just, essentially a one-word change. Nothing really too major to go on about that. But it's nice to finally have confirmation. We still really haven't got too much confirmation. Challengers seems to be the only thing really that hasn't had that much spoken about it. Like Riot have not announced too much. I think probably, potentially because maybe they haven't signed off on everything yet. But it still seems like we're in limbo about what's actually happening about Challengers more compared to...
I'm not worried about the international leagues not having done everything. From what I'm aware, nobody knows internally when we're looking at freelancers like myself and Neo in terms of casters, in terms of like producers, stuff like that. Well, producers have been picked, and like but freelancers like us and like observers and stuff like that, no idea anything about the international leagues. Nobody's been picked or anything like that, as far as I know. But yeah, challenge like that's not worrying because they've got kickoff tournaments first, and then after that in summer is going to be when the actual international leagues are starting regionally.
Yes,
so I'm not worried about that. That's fine. They've got tons of time for that. Challenges is starting in 1 month, pretty much.
Yes.
Challenges is starting right at the start of January. As far as we know, we don't even know that, but we know it's going to be in January because that's what they said in their announcement post. So maximum 2 months left.
And we haven't heard as much.
We don't know anything.
We would have heard. Yeah, I mean, we
don't
kind of
know
heard
teams that are going to be involved yet.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know Polaris, especially kind of the regional which we'll work in. I mean, that is, I mean, as well as probably every challenger's region is. It's very up in the air because a lot of our teams did not fit into that 3 out of 5 rule.
Yeah.
So it's very much a case of now, like, who knows, right?
Yeah, we don't know anything about it. We don't even know broadcast dates. As people who are involved internally, again, we don't know broadcast dates. As far as I know, they like the broadcast producers do have an idea of when it will start and what the broadcast, but they're not allowed to share that with us yet.
You hate to see it.
Whether that means that Riot haven't quite figured out what they want to do.
They might not
yet,
have signed
or
off on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's just. But again, the lack of communication from Riot is a amazing thing that will continue to permeate its way through esports in every way. And yeah, I don't know.
I hope it's just not left last minute. We'll have to wait and see because you know, I mean, even in terms of like if we want to do preparation for Polaris,
last time they left something until the last minute, it was the name for VRLs, and it got copyrighted.
It got copyrighted, yeah, exactly.
And we weren't allowed to say 3 letters on broadcast.
Exactly. So you know, at the moment, you know, for us, if we want to do preparation on Polaris, it's tough because we don't even know what organizations are going to be in. Like, for example, XL, who.
Hey.
You know, they've announced that they're departing from the Champion Store and they're looking to sell their spot, apparently, in Tools 2023, which is not allowed. You can't sell your spot.
You can't do that.
So against the rule, it's literally plain as day in the contract as well, and those contracts are public. It's plain as day. You are not allowed to sell your spot.
They're not getting any money from it.
Yeah, you cannot sell your spot to someone. So, first of all, I think this kind of just shows... you know, XO in a way that they just, you know, the second they didn't get partnership, the VCT, they were just like, well, fuck this, like, you know, we don't need to stay. Obviously,
please out Prem.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit of a tantrum from them because obviously they've got very good funding. XL, they've got a lot of backing from a lot of investors, and I think they thought that would be enough for them to push them across the line. But they're a side who, when they went to VRLs, always underperformed. I mean, they're still yet to get a win at a VRL final. They went there twice, and they didn't even pick up a single win. Both times knocked out first round. I've been right in saying.
Like, Polaris was never particularly competitive. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly.
They kind of had a free route.
Yeah, and they still ended up fucking it when they got to the international scale. So, and they had a very mixed match roster, which definitely only just... I mean, it had two out of 5, I think, if I'm right in saying, with Mo and Foxy be the 2 UK boys. So who knows? But obviously, that roster is no longer a thing. I know Foxy's been playing with some other players. I mean, all of them are kind of been playing across the board with different players. Patek played with him in Blast Fight Nations. He's still got it, obviously, as an individual. We'll have to wait and see. But... yeah, I think this was just quite funny to me, more than anything. XO was trying to sell their spot, which you just abruptly not allowed to do, and they were so public about it, which was the funniest part. It was like they're just publicly, in a way, it kind of feels like a very public fuck you to Riot, basically, for not putting them into VCT. They're just trying to just like break contract by selling their spot.
It's the same thing FPX did, although they didn't sell their spot or anything like that. They basically just went, I'm not very happy that you didn't give us the partnership spot. Go fuck yourself. And then Riot are kind of just going to be like, okay, then we're just not going to give you the partner spot if you do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why? Why throw your toys out the pram now? There's 5 years worth of opportunities for you to get up there. Yes, there's uncertainty with challenges and what the sponsorships are going to be like and what kind of budget you're going to be able to afford. just coast it out for now. You didn't have to make a public statement where you like made a big deal out. Like, I don't understand that.
They were really, really unhappy about it.
Alliance did the right thing in that they went, oh, we're going to commit to our, we want to get into this and that. If you're going to make a public statement, make one that's positive. Don't make one that attacks Riot for no
or even the case
I understand,
of if you want to drop out, just say like, oh, we're like, obviously they know they're not allowed to sell the spot, or they should. But then again, I think XL is one of those organizations. It kind of hurts to say this, but they're a UK organization and they're terribly run. It seems like the business decisions at the upper level are a question is probably the best way to put it, because Jesus Christ, it kind of feels like an organization that's run by people who don't really know esports. It's probably the best way to put it, because some of the decisions they make are just really questionable. But it's also not a good way. It's not a good look, for when you get involved in esports like this. Branding is everything, and this is just terrible from them. But it's like a weird, like they've just kicked off, and then Riot obviously don't give a shit, because why should they? It's like some dinky tier 2 org is having a little strop. FBX having a strop, Riot should maybe care a little bit and be like, okay, you didn't get chosen, but maybe we should try and appease them in some ways and just say there's potential you could make it through or whatever. But XL, Riot aren't gonna give a fuck. They don't care. They don't care about a region that has been criminally underperforming for the entirety of the tier 2 circuit. And especially when it's XL as well, they're gonna be like, all right, you live on the same street, by the way, as Guild, who are one of the best GameChangers rosters, and Fnatic. Their offices are all in Shoreditch, in the same street, and it's like, brother, your neighbors, we care way more about them than you, and even your other neighbors on the other side, we care more about them because they are at least committed properly to the GameChangers scene. It's just like, XL, fuck off, like, go away.
Insane UK org ego. That's what it is. It's UK orgs have a massive ego. They don't pay their players at all. I'm not going to go into all of that, but so many UK orgs do not pay their players. They do not pay their contractors. They get into trouble about this. I'm not going to even touch 10-star, because that is there's a lot going on there. But oh my god, UK orgs just have the biggest egos in the world and the smallest brains.
Yes.
On God. I don't know what's going on, but that's bad choice. Bad choice. They said they have a commitment to GameChangers, which is good.
Is nice. Yeah, exactly. It's
not morally corrupt. The bare minimum. Well done.
Exactly.
Hey, I don't know. Here's what it is.
We'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. We can move on to another. Technically, well, yeah, it is a UK. It's a partnership between, of course, OG being American, if I'm right in saying, and then London United, of course. Funny enough, from London.
Wow.
Who, another one from them. It's been a huge honour to have you represent us twice. You can't wait to see what the future holds for you. Strain, Val, thanks for everything. Thomas, until we meet again. I mean, with them not making it, they wanted to make it, obviously. With them not making it, the Strain's now gone to Vitality. I mean, I think this is quite a nice little post from them, to be fair. Yeah,
everyone on their roster was let go. I mean, they did recently. If you go to their page, right?
What have we got for us?
They recently retweeted a tweet from Secret Lab about GameChangers. I don't know if maybe OGLDN are going to also do the same thing.
Empowering and uplifting gamers. Okay.
They retweeted also, it's the first thing they've said since they let go of all their players. They retweet a tweet from Secret Lab about GameChangers.
The thing is, though, this is also a world in which we could read into this and be like, hang on a second, maybe OG London United are getting a GameChangers roster the same way XL are. But also at the same time, they could literally just have a partnership with Secret Labs, like a sponsor, where it's just like, you've got to retweet all of our stuff. And they're like, all right, fine. So
we're going to make it interesting.
Exactly. It could go one or two ways. But, I mean, again, it'll be nice for these rosters, it's like XL and Eroji's saying, but they're kind of the same way Guild do. Of course, for Guild, they're not involved in VCT, but they have their GameChangers roster, and from my understanding, they're still committing to them. And I mean, rightfully so, because of how well they've been performing. So hopefully, maybe we see some of these people who don't get VCT via their main team in a way. They can at least be involved within GameChangers.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We're now we're into a sad part though.
Yeah, maybe we're clutching
Ninjas in Pajamas are leaving Valorant, and they had a horror story of of Valorant. They fielded an EMEA team. They did terribly. They fielded another EMEA team. They did terribly. Yeah. They moved to Brazil, did well, and missed out on franchising. I don't know why. The commitment they showed to Valorant was insane. They moved regions to try and stay competitive, and got snubbed by Riot.
They've got money as well. I'm not really, because again, there was one part of me thought that maybe it's just because NIP is an organization. And the way that it run, and of course their links with the Swedish government, whatever, it might even just be of a case of they are so integrated within CS:GO that like they will never lose the CS:GO side of them. Like if you think of NIP, you just think of CS:GO, like that 870 roster.
They were one of the OGs.
Yeah, exactly. They were the first good big team within CS:GO with Forest, Freiburg, Get Right, etc. Anyway,
my God.
And it could be a case of for Riot, they maybe see that they'll never shake that, which is probably true. I mean, no matter how much they get involved in Valorant, I don't think they will ever shake that, and they're always going to be known as like Swedish CS:GO roster, whatever. So that might be a case, but I think you're spot on, right? They were so dedicated despite the adversities, which is, I mean, that's something. I mean, NIP, it's not like they need a Valorant roster because of how good the CS:GO team is and because of the successes that they have elsewhere. I'm pretty sure they have basically rosters in like most esports. It's not like they desperately need a Valorant one. But they committed, they moved regions, were putting money into a region which is, slightly underdeveloped, the South American scene, and they did get snubbed a bit. It's quite unfortunate. I don't think it's a case of... I mean, it's definitely not a case of finances because NIP have unbelievable amounts of money. So the one thing I would say is I don't know what it's like on the Valorant side because I'm not actually too sure who ran the Valorant I'm assuming it's not the same guys as who ran the CS cohort. But what I would say is the CS leadership are like grade A morons, absolute S tier. Like the only ones worse than is probably Astralis. So... or maybe even EG. EG are definitely up there as well. But the NIP, the people at the top, they're deluded and they're moronic. And there's a world in which Riot were like, well, if those guys are involved in Valorant, because they're kind of controversial at times as well, which is also always a good thing. They're very outspoken and about dumb shit all the time, which no one cares about. It's like, mate, shut up. Like, just go away. Like, just run your team. But basically, it's not money. Money's not the reason they got snubbed. There has to be some alternative reason, which is, maybe just because of their CS influence. Maybe it's because of their dodgy leadership. I mean, there's got to be something else, basically.
Yeah, I would assume so.
But I can't think what it is.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Because
it makes me sad.
They're a big org.
Because, they're a big org, and they're a nice name to have around. But,
Exactly.
If they're not going to go for challengers, they're not going to go for challengers. Oh, well, it says they're looking for a GameChangers roster, which is good. Again, I'm happy with that. Exactly. That's a good enough consolation.
Yeah. And of course, technically our penultimate section.
Oh boy.
Drama.
And guess what it's all about?
Oh my God.
Once again, GameChangers has managed to...
We'll start with this one.
I say GameChangers has managed to do it. In fact, nothing to do with GameChangers whatsoever. GameChangers was great. It's Riot and the fans this time that has made everything terrible. So thank you for that one, guys. So, starting out with... I mean, I'm sure people will have seen this. This was a while ago. This was before the GameChangers Championships. Hey, tickets sold out in a record-breaking 2 minutes for GameChangers Championships. I missed out on them by 1 minute because I wasn't at my computer right on the hour turn. Turns out the reason for that is because it was being filmed in the LEC studio, which has a capacity of about 150 plus crew. 174
seats it has. But even like you said, like it's not actually 174 because there's stuff for crew and stuff as well. So I think this... I mean, I wasn't vocal about this when it happened because I just wanted to see if anything ever came of it on the other side. I think this is such a kick in the teeth for what is an unbelievable event, which is, like I've always said, is the pinnacle of female esports at all, right? This has been the benchmark. These guys have been blazing a path for female esports. Valorant have been doing such a good job.
It's not even, to me, it's not even just specifically about the seats, right?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that. It's the fact that for every single Masters event, Champions, everything like that for the male scene, for VCT, they have rented out an arena. They have rented out from another company, an arena. For this one, they just went, we'll use our backyard.
Yeah, use something they already own, and I'll be like, yeah, exactly.
Cool. We're not going to invest in it. And I don't. Okay, look. Yeah. They put $500,000 into the prize pool. Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you, Riot. That's beautiful. Thank you for investing in the females. It doesn't excuse the amount of shit that you've thrown at the Game Changers scene that has stunted their growth massively. Doing good does not excuse the shit tier, like the shit housery that you've done before, and this is just a kick in. You put it the best. It's a kick in the teeth. It's not
because there's other things around it. Like I think that if they put up a 300k prize pool, for example, and then 200k they spent on like renting an arena and having a big setup, I think there would be no complaints from the players, the organizations, or whatever. Because, I mean, as we've seen, selling out in 2 minutes. They deserve to be playing in front of an actual big crowd, like 174.
This is coming from.
I'm pretty sure we had more than that at the NEC when we were doing God knows what. So realistically speaking, I think this is. I just think it's kind of offensive in a way. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think this was just massively overlooked. It's one of two things. It was either they booked the dates for when they were going to do Game Changers, and then they left it super last minute where there was just nowhere else, and they were like, fuck, like we've kind of committed to Berlin now, and the arena's booked on this day, or all the arenas that are local, there's no job, we can't get them, they're all booked, right? So they massively overlooked it. I mean, either left things last minute, or it was there's a few. It left it last minute, and they realized, okay, shit, all the arenas are booked. Maybe someone's doing a concert or whatever. Beyonce's here, fuck it, we're not getting that one. So. B, the other one, just being it was a complete oversight in the fact that they didn't think that people would want to go and watch, which again I think is actually quite offensive.
Which would be ridiculous because this is coming from the like they bragged about having so many female viewers at Champions.
Exactly.
2021, so that would be ridiculous.
It would be like and again that would be just outright offensive if they were like, I don't think anyone's actually going to come and watch this, so I'll just keep it small. Which is just I mean, because there's also another thing where for that they maybe would have been if they had booked out somewhere big and then there'd been empty seats, which I don't really think they would have been, especially in a place like Berlin, which is so accessible. I think Istanbul a little bit tougher to get to, more expensive as well. But I mean, for London, flights to Berlin are like I've gone to Berlin and back for under 100 quid.
Gone there, no questions asked.
Exactly.
If I could get a hold of tickets.
I've flown to Berlin with mates. I think it was like 60 quid return. Like Ryanair, granted, shit flights, but it does the job. So, I think there's that, or there's a case of where they just like didn't even think it kind of deserved them paying money for a thing. Maybe it's like, this is their first proper big international thing. Maybe we'll just keep it small, make sure we iron out all the kinks and everything works. Again, I think it's quite offensive. So
in a world where nobody complained about this, nobody reached out to Riot, nobody was like, what the fuck is going on? What would the prize pool have actually been? I think maybe that $500,000 was, maybe it was planned. I'm not throwing accusations anywhere. I'm saying maybe they increase the prize pool as a response to this outrage.
As just a way to kind of cover their tracks. I mean, it just feels kind of brutal. I kind of feel for the Game Changer scene. It's a scene that like I like following, especially because I know some of the players and I've interviewed some of them on my own channel.
I'm good friends with a lot of these people.
Exactly.
It's so annoying to see them
they get hindered by the weird things, right? And it's like, obviously the fact that it's in the LEC studio is a studio that Riot already own, so not paying anything for it. They know it's vacant because there's no league on at the same time. So it's just like, it's cheap. We already own it. Fuck it. Let's just go there. So it's either a case of they left it late and they've realized they can't get any of the local, bigger spaces, or they've not want to put in the money and the effort, which I'm really, really hoping it's option one, where it's like, it's just a mistake. Because if it is just a case of where it's like, obviously they're never going to admit what happens, right? But if it's a case of them being like, okay, we set up Berlin, we were getting everything sorted, and we just left it too late, and the arena was already booked for the days that we set, and we can't really change the days because the calendar's even though it's the off season, the calendar is kind of packed. And then they're like, we just made a mistake. I'm like, sorry, whatever. We made a mistake. We left it late and there was nothing there. And we won't make that same mistake again. Obviously, they're not going to fucking make the same mistake again because they got so much flack.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, you'd hope so, yeah. But, yeah, I'm hoping it's like that rather than the fact that they just like was an oversight. They're like, oh, we don't need to get that many. We don't want empty seats in a big crowd. Let's just keep it small. 170 people. It probably might sell out maybe, and it's just like, fuck's sake. So yeah, I don't know. I think the Game Changers scene is it like Valorant and Riot. They've done so much for female CS, female Valorant, may I say, which has prompted the likes of female CS stepping up, and they kind of they've it's actually not even CS, every esport, but I think especially CS because they've basically been like a fuck you to CS:GO who don't give a shit.
I think this is a massive conflict.
Yeah,
I think I've talked about this before. A massive conflict between the people in Riot who are contracted to organize Game Changers events, which are brilliant people. I've talked to a lot of them. They're amazing people. Everybody who actually works directly on Game Changers. And upper management who are the people making the decisions on where to spend money. I think that's a big thing. Upper management don't give a single shit about Game Changers. The people they paid to give a shit, give a shit.
Of course, yeah. It's rough, man. I think, this was, just prior to the announcement or anything, this was going to be one of the coolest events of the year because it was just like the pinnacle of female Valorant. It's just like, this is awesome. Like we finally get to see an international scale event with a crowd and, the female Valorant getting the kind of what it deserves, right? Because it's been, it's been grafting away where, the male scene has had multiple events in person. The female one hasn't yet. And then of course it gets this. So I'm hoping this was just a mistake where obviously they're not really ever going to admit to it, but I hope it's just a mistake and they're like, okay, fuck it, we fucked up. I'm sorry, but next time we'll be in a place with 2,000 seats and it's all good. And then, basically I just think it's something that Riot needs to learn from. I think they've got quite a lot of flack and, I say arguably quite deservedly, quite a lot of flack, for this one.
Yep.
Let's hope next one rolls around. I'm not even too sure when I think they've got that calendar that came out, but I don't think they've officially announced when the next anything Game Changers is gonna be. Yeah. But it'll be a while essentially. But hopefully next time it comes around, probably like in about half a year's time. Yeah, they step it up in terms of the scale of everything. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they even care about the prize pool as much in terms of, I think if it was 400k for a prize pool, but 100k of it went on to, renting out an arena for a couple of days. I think they would be more than happy with that. The players that didn't bother me. So
probably.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. It's quite interesting. I think we've got another one here from Riot.
It's just to make matters worse. It was just the with a small amount of seats, players. Which apparently same thing happened with all of the men's champions masters. But at the same time, those always had empty seats, and you could just go in and sit down if you had a ticket. There were no tickets and no empty seats for this. So there was no chance any of the players who got knocked out earlier in the tournament could go and watch. Yeah. And as far as I'm aware, they didn't. As far as I'm aware, there was no, the players didn't stick around.
And just to read Juliana's tweet as well, which I mean, first of all, probably the biggest name within female Valorant. So I mean, you don't want to piss her off.
Definitely.
Yeah, you don't want to piss her off. But she said, "I've just been told by Riot. I've just been told that Riot won't give access for any of the players to enter the venue once they're out of champions. People can't go and watch their families and friends who traveled all the way to Berlin unless you buy tickets. They're already sold out."
What you got to keep in mind is the Game Changers scene not only is, obviously a competitive scene like the men's VCT scene at the moment. It is a family.
Of course.
It's so tightly connected. Everybody is friends with each other. All of them want to support each other. It's a much smaller scene than regular VCT, and therefore everyone knows each other. Everyone is friends. Everyone is supportive of each other. Yeah, which is apart from the times where everybody is attacking each other. But hey, that's a different matter entirely.
Yes.
But
I'm white.
Exactly. Yeah, but everybody wants to if you don't give them opportunities to support each other, it's just it becomes this super competitive, really. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
The personalities is what makes GameChangers really good, as well as the level of play. Obviously, it's fantastic to kind of have female Valorant at such a high level, but the personalities are what makes it awesome as well. And the fact that the personalities can't be in person really is a bit of a shit show. I think that's another. I think again, it's another oversight. I think this is another one to add to the tally. Where, do you know what? It's also probably even the case as well. I don't want to shit on anyone who actually works for GameChangers, but I think probably whoever was in charge of running it and making decisions, I would assume that they're new. Is probably because these are mistakes that you don't really get. They're not made anywhere else. But what I'd say, you look towards, for example, again, this is always, for anyone watching who doesn't really know who I am, this will always be my go-to backup. Is CS:GO. It's where I've came from. It's where I started before Valorant, and it's a game I know as well as Valorant, if not better. So, but of course, female Valorant prompted the rise of female CS:GO in the same way. And then, for example, you love the GameChangers. They were the best of the best in CS:GO. So, I already knew them before Valorant was even a thing. But what I'm saying is, in CS, for example, we've just finished Impact Season 2. So Impact is it's basic GameChangers, essentially. And it's just finished Season 2 all of about 2-3 days ago. And that was held in DreamHack Jönköping, which was a fucking humongous thing. Hundreds of seats. And not all of them were full, of course, because it's kind of like, like a Comic-Con where you can kind of just walk around all the different venues. It's like that for a gaming thing, essentially. And it's held within there. So it's, there's people selling stuff in stores. There's people doing cosplay, whatever. There's Rainbow Six Siege was also held there. Their major was also held in the same building. And so was Impact. And they had a set arena on the stage, whatever. But, it's not an oversight because ESL and just CS:GO, they've made the mistakes early doors, and now they've realized. And I think it's probably a case of whoever was running GameChangers is just new to this and doesn't have the experience on their belt, so they haven't made the fuck ups yet, so they can learn from the fuck ups. But now that they've made them and they've got a fucking hell of a lot of it looks a lot worse, because if this was made 6-7 years ago when esports was still on the small side, of course Valorant wasn't around, but you know what I mean, right? If these sort of mistakes were made in the early days of CS:GO or the early days of League, right? Let's say like 10 years ago, for example, people were like, okay, esports is still small. It's still, on a small side.
These are mistakes you don't expect.
This is a $1 billion industry now. There's no longer this excuse to be making mistakes like this. So I think probably whoever was in charge of this is just inexperienced in a case, and hey, you hate to see it, but I think it's an unfortunate part where it's another oversight. And I think the good thing is that this will never, hopefully, fucking hell, that this will never be an oversight again, right? That's the nice thing. Hopefully this is it. But I think they've made multiple fuck ups here, which is stuff that they didn't even think would be a problem. Like, when they get knocked out, will we have space for the players? Oh, we won't. Shit. Well, I mean, wherever else they don't. You always see in other games as well now where the players go and sit in the crowd or whatever. So yeah, I think it's just an oversight, right? And I think probably as much as I want to hound Riot in a way because they've kind of messed up what was going to be an amazing event. It still was an amazing event. It just could have been a bit more of a spectacle. I think it's probably, if I had to make a guess, whoever's in charge is probably just a little bit inexperienced, and they've made a bit of a fuck up here. And they'll realize that, I don't want to shit on them because they've probably been shit on and off by the upper echelon at Riot. Because of the backlash. But hopefully they learn from this, and these same mistakes aren't made going forward.
Yep.
But there is one more mistake.
A little more GameChangers.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Do you want to break this one down? Because this one, I mean, again, so when this came out,
I never saw it.
I did, right? So I was actually watching this game because I was working all day, and then in the evening, most of the time I like to play games, but I think that night I was just so burnt out that I was just like, right, I'm gonna set my PC. And there was like no CS:GO on, no anything else on. I was like, GameChangers. Let's see what's what.
I was doing tech rehearsals that day for Red Bull Campus Clutch, I think.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll put it on. So I'm having my dinner and I'm watching, and well, I mean, go on, explain what you saw of it from like a hindsight point of view.
Yeah, so I looked on Twitter and I saw a competitive ruling has been issued against Rob Wiz Kennedy, the coach of Shopify Rebellion. And I was like, okay, interesting. That's
Okay.
Hold on. Okay, let's read this. On November 19th, immediately after the match between Shopify Rebellion GC and Cloud9 White during the VALORANT GameChangers Championship, the coach of Shopify Rebellion GC, Rob Kennedy, made an offensive gesture on stage towards the players of Cloud9 White. They don't refer to what that is. I'm assuming it's middle fingers at the time, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming he put middle fingers up and he got caught on camera and oops, that's not good.
Have you seen the clip of it?
I have not seen the clip of it yet.
If you scroll down, actually, Dirk has put a picture of it.
Oh,
but here's a picture. And I think Dirk did a really good tweet.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, wait. Finish reading out so we can get on the side. That's the offensive gesture, just for reference. And we'll go on to our points.
Consequently, Rob Kennedy breached Rule 7.1.2 of the Global Competition Policy. You read this, it says you have to do it twice before you're given any... Yeah. You get a warning, and then you get whatever.
Exactly.
Right. According to which, coaches must observe the highest standards of personal integrity and good sportsmanship at all times. Behavior that disrespects and insults the players of the opposing team is a violation of the standards expected of coaches participating in the VALORANT GameChangers Championship. Accordingly, Rob Kennedy is suspended for his next match in the VALORANT GameChangers Championship scheduled to be played on November 20th, 2022. They do not say in the tweet that is the Grand Finals versus G2 Gozen.
Yeah.
Moreover, Rob Kennedy is fined and has been warned that any subsequent violations of this policy will result in increased penalties. What increased penalty? You suspended him from the Grand Finals and fined him!
Of the biggest female VALORANT tournament we have had to date, and you fined him, suspended him on the Grand Final. Like, there is nothing bigger. Okay, and so I'll kickstart things here, and I want to go back to this Durka tweet, right? So first of all, this was the picture, right? Rob Kennedy.
How many times have you seen this in male VCT?
Exactly.
How
first of all,
many times?
For context, for those who don't know or don't follow the female Val scene over in NA, basically C9 White and Shopify Rebellions have a rivalry. They always have, and it's not even like a bit of a jokey rivalry. Like, they don't like each other.
Proper rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, like, and we're the case of, and actually, you know, to be honest, they should be put on blast a lot more for this, but C9 White are fucking horrible to them. Like, when they went, I mean, C9 White usually beat them.
They're both very, very characterful teams.
Yes, yeah.
Is what I want to say, in that they have the heel kind of traits, right?
Exactly. And C9 White are usually the victors, you know, more often than not, from what we see in kind of recent history. And when they are, they clown them on Twitter.
Right.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
it is.
It's like, you know, get on the... And
it's
they
public.
did it this event as well.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah. So, and they've been... And because C9 White beat them first time round, right? Earlier on in the tournament, right? And and again, C9 White, I mean, they've always been extremely public in grilling them, roasting them, always getting very, very under their skin, right? Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, they've never been punished for it. They've never even been warned about kind of being... What is, like... It's not even the case of them, like, you know, if it was lighthearted in a way, it was just like, we win, like, easy. Like, even if it's like GG easy, right? It'd be like, okay, fair enough. Like, you've won. You deserve the bragging rights here. But, like, some of the stuff they do does actually cross a line. Like, it's pretty out there. And, like, it's very personal as well, which is quite a thing. Like, they target individuals on the other side. The other side being Shopify Rebellions. It's very personal, right? So once they got this win in what was a big win, which was the semi-finals, right? I mean, a lot on the line, high stakes, and it was a very close game. A lot of the points as well. You know, it's like the first time that Shopify Rebellions have had the ability to kind of be like, well, fuck you, like, you know. You've smack talked to us and shit talked to us for like a year and a bit, maybe even longer than that. In person, online, every opportunity you've got, because you're usually the victors. And when it mattered most, we won. And rather than doing anything smack talk or whatever, it was just a, you know, we get fucked, so get out, like, we're the best. It's so lighthearted. And
it got caught on camera, and that's the problem.
Exactly.
Not the fact that he did it. It got caught on camera.
This tweet, grow up. That's the best way I can explain it.
So many middle fingers have been caught on camera in regular VCT.
VALORANT's golden boy, boaster.
Many
middle fingers.
Nobody has ever been punished for it. They've been warned.
Yeah, exactly.
As it says in the competitive policy, you take a look at that rulebook. Somebody go take a look at that rulebook. It says you do it once, you get a warning. You do it twice, you get suspended.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was the second one?
And you look through the replies as well, and it's just everybody having the same response of just like, what the fuck is this?
Tell me where the fuck the warning was.
And the thing is, you look across the board as well, and I think maybe they came out and thought they were doing something with this, but you look across the board and it's all the golden boys. Like, for example, even, you know, there's picture Boaster doing it at Masters, Durka the same as well. You look for all these big hitters, and even they're memeing it like, what the fuck. Mitch as well, tier 1 commentator, saying what is going on here. Tarek, Tens, you've got like all the golden boys of Valorant, the biggest content creators, the biggest names, the biggest players, the biggest casters, all saying like, this is just a swing and a miss. Like, this is
especially for the grand finals. You cannot suspend somebody from the grand finals.
Oh my god!
Unless they do something egregious and don't heed your warnings.
If he was on stream being like, like abusive on stream, but like.
And it brings a question mark into the result of the event.
Yeah, because, of course, as we now know in hindsight, and we mentioned earlier, Gazan won, right? And, a lot of people maybe even want to put them as the favourites. But I think unfortunately for them, there always will be a slight asterisk, even if it's small, just being like, yeah, but then Shopify didn't play with their coach, though, did they? Because of some shit dumb ruling. So I think this is another oversight kicking the teeth where... And also, the worst part about this, which is the most annoying thing, is that it is clear to see... the only thing that anyone cares about, and this is across, doesn't matter what gender, what game, what seed scenario, whatever, just have consistency. And this is another just direct lack of consistency here, because why do we see the men get away with it and then obviously the females don't, right? So, I'm obviously, Rob being a guy, but, at the same time, in the female scene, we've seen the same gestures made within male Valorant and nothing's happened. And it's even been memed about by Valorant themselves.
GameChangers has always been so policed and clinical with how they're allowed to express themselves. A lot of the time, it feels like they're throwing this kind of, you need to be ladylike kind of. That feels very 2000s. Kind of.
It's an old mentality, isn't it? Like, it's just super
exactly.
old.
It's just this kind of what women trash talking, women being a little bit rude and a little bit having No, not allowed. Obviously, it's Rob, not a woman, but it's the game changer scene is what I'm talking about. They want it to be crystal clean and just this PR reign of just perfect for Riot. Just beautiful PR for us, amazing. No, let them fucking play. Let them be competitive. Let them trash talk each other. It's fine. It happens in the male scene. You don't give a shit about it.
Trash talking is good. It literally, like, on a more jokey level, it's actually a good thing, because without storylines and without rivalries, there's no interest. Like, people aren't going to come back for like, these two are just playing each other. They're going to play and then shake hands afterwards, and that's it. And go,
oh yeah, well, you played so well. Oh my god, yeah, no.
People like the personalities, which is why players like Zelsus and like Vanity are kind of the higher level. Why people like Boaster? He's a personality, and trash talking is part of that as well on a more casual level. And I go back to just kind of the top response there. Don Hatchie, grow up. And I think that's probably the best way to put it. Like, why was there a need to make... I mean, first of all, this is such a serious punishment, because,
it's insane.
It's incredibly serious for an incredibly unserious gesture is the most brutal thing. And this, I think maybe, you can say... this is a kind of first time occasion, you can maybe say like, maybe Riot and Valorant are trying to, set the precedent here and be like, this will not fly within our game or whatever. No one takes this seriously, and this is done the complete opposite. Where I feel like players and people and personalities are gonna try to like do shit to get around this and continue to piss them off, because it's not being helpful in any way. There's nothing positive that's come out of this. Essentially, is the best way to put it. Which is another unfortunate blot on what should have been a fantastic tournament, basically.
Yeah, and obviously I do want to touch on, and I don't want to give this much credence because it's fucked up and it's so shit, and it's the fans. It's the fans, or not the fans, I guess, in a way. Stop with the fucking transphobia. Jesus Christ, it's almost 2023. Yeah. Bro, yes. Wow, there are trans players at the tournament. Congrats. No, they don't have a competitive advantage over women at all. Yeah. In traditional sports, in esports, they don't have a competitive advantage in any way, shape, or form. Stop saying, oh, there are guys at this. No, shut up. The amount of hate that Bob got, the amount of hate that Sonda got. So many people saying, oh, I'm so glad they didn't win because they're not real. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's
not respectfully.
Shit,
Shut the fuck up, please.
It's really shit.
The same thing every event. Just non-binary people, trans women are women, first off. Go fuck yourself if you think anything else. Non-binary people are allowed to play as well. They don't have an advantage over women. End of story. None whatsoever. We've seen it in traditional sports. It's come up. They've got. You remember the swimmer who in the Olympics one time got a medal?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's a man!" And they're smurfing on everybody. No, they've been competing in the women's bracket for 10 years and not got a medal, and now they have one. And it's the same thing I said last time about trans players and non-binary players have to be scared of winning. That is not something you want in your. It's so fucked up. Just stop watching if you're going to be a bigot.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
And it's like, what do you gain from it as well? Is the bit for me. Like, I think, I mean, Bob seems to be kind of the real target for a lot of it. And I really just feel bad for them, right? Because it's just like, you know, they just here to play. They haven't done anything wrong. They're not like. First of all, you know, for people like who are just bigots like that, it's not exactly like Bob is very outspoken in your face. They're so quiet. They just do their job. A fantastic Valorant player.
All the time, it's because they're scared. Because they should be. Because people are fucking terrible to them.
Yeah, it's really horrible. It's one of those things as well. I think, you know, guys, this is no skin off kind of the back of Riot. I don't think they're not doing anything wrong here, but I think, you know,
the moderation team in Twitch was amazing.
Exactly, they did a cracking job. I think basically they did as good of a job as it was possible, essentially, because I mean, it is so hard to kind of keep that shit in line, especially when it's a cesspool the way it is, and especially when it's on other platforms other than Twitch, it's even harder. So, I mean, credit to Riot. They did a really bang up job of making it like a safe space and making it good, but. Yeah, I mean, people just, it's just the case, just grow up, honestly.
Grow up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also, they do it for the reaction in a way as well. So I think in a weird way,
we're not
it's
in
like,
edgy 2010, you know,
exactly.
YouTube era, like, oh, it's funny. Yeah. It's funny to make fun of. No, it isn't. It's just shut the fuck up.
On the other side, and a lot of credit to players like Bob as well, because a lot of these people, they do it for the reaction. They do it, you know, they are big and they just want to see them snap, right? And credit, Bob was very level-headed. I know they did a pretty, you know, heart-wrenching tweet afterwards. I haven't got it up now, but I mean, if you got the link, that'd be appreciated. They did a pretty heart-wrenching kind of tweet afterwards, which just makes you just feel terrible, but I'll grab it up now for you lovely people at home. Here it is. I'll just read it out. It was just like, you know, I don't know if I should even be sharing this publicly, but the hate I was getting during Berlin was unbelievably hurtful. And for the first time, I struggled to ignore it and even felt like I deserved it. I try my best to control my emotions, but at the end of the day, I'm human. I mean, that is just, it's just fucking horrible, isn't it? It's like, it's a really horrible thing to read because they just don't deserve it.
Yeah, part of that is to do with C9 White's performance as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But Bob got the brunt of it.
Yep.
And for no other reason than she was born a man.
Yeah.
And she transitioned
when they win,
to being a
it's always on her, and when they lose, always on her. It's like it's just like it's not even a win-win or like a, you know, it's always a lose-lose. When they win, it's always like, oh well, they've got a guy, and then when they lose, it's well like, how have you not won because you're a guy kind of thing. Like it's just like but I mean, for someone to come out like this and tweet the way that they have is it's pretty,
it breaks my fucking heart.
It's a tough read, isn't it? So if any of you are bigots and you're watching this, first of all, fuck off. Second of all, leave, go away. But yeah, honestly, I mean, it's just a horrible thing. And but credit to Bob, because I think basically they look for reactions, they look for outbursts. Like they would have, you know, it would have made their day if Bob would come out or other players who are trans had come out and been like, you know, super like fuck you and like calling people out and whatever. But you know, to stay level-headed in that sort of situation is actually I'm pouring a lot of respect because that is tough. But on a more positive note, off the back of that, we have got a couple of events upcoming in the off season. I mean, of course, it is the off season, so it's a little bit on the quieter side. But we do have a few bits that we can talk about. We'll leave the biggest to last. At the moment, what is nice to see, we got a couple of the VRLs ticking over, which is pretty cool. We got the DAC region, the French region. They're doing their thing. They got basically just an off season VRL. It's nothing too monumental. There's nothing that comes of it, it's just nice to see. I think France starts October 27th, so I actually started yesterday, and DAC starts on October 3rd. Oh no, October. No, what am I saying? It started a month ago yesterday, and it finishes December 13th, and DAC finishes December 19th. But they're just quite cool, to be honest. To see,
it's great. They invited some non-French teams as well. There's Bonk playing in the French one. I think Heat as well, which I guess technically they have a Belgian and a French player, but
but I think. They technically they're a Polaris team, aren't they? Off back in last season, but they're a French organisation. But I mean, it's quite nice to see that they're being played at the moment. Recent results as of literally today.
Just Bonk are doing really well.
Yeah, Bonk 2-0 at Heat, which is actually relatively decent. Mandatory beat Emoji Puss, whatever that means. A thumbs up.
That's a thing.
But looking alright. It seems like some of the bigger names have been knocked out a little bit earlier doors. Carmine Corp lost, but was that with their old team? Yes, it was.
Definitely.
Oh, with Videx, it was, yeah. So, I was going to say, they're their new team. Woo!
That would be unfortunate, yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's quite nice. I mean, it would be lovely if Polaris did the same thing. I'm not sure why only certain ones do it, but it would be cool if we got a chance to do it as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, hate to see it, but hey ho.
Well, most of the teams from Polaris have disbanded now anyway. So
That's very true. That's very true. But I mean, aside from that, the only other big one that we can talk about that is kind of worth, I guess, discussing is Red Bull Homeground.
Indeed.
Pretty spicy. I'll show you the list of teams. Team Liquid, Vitality, Focus, 100 Thieves, Crew, Heretics Foot, and one to be announced.
Yeah, this is much bigger than any of the other home grounds we've had so far, who have all been Europe teams. We've got now, how many of these teams are franchised? All of them apart from Focus so far.
Focus, yeah. And then obviously TBD. We don't know who that's going to be. I'm not even sure what the rumours are about who the last invite is, but I'm assuming it's going to be someone who's going to keep up to that caliber. So I don't know. It looks sick.
So.
It looks really cool. I mean, big teams.
Yeah.
Predictions? Who's taking it in your eyes?
I
think it's a tough one to predict, to be fair.
For now, I'm going to say Liquid.
Yeah, but I want to go Liquid as well. I feel like if it's not them, genuinely, I see a world.
Are they defending champions too?
I think so. Yeah. I think Liquid would be my favourite, and if it's not them, I would even actually go maybe like 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I can see 100 Thieves getting it. Crew maybe as well. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, I like Crew. Like I said, I'm a big Moj and Kiwi fan. Those two. I mean, even Mr. Fallen actually. All of them actually were actually just absolute fans. Farmers, may I say. Cracks was correct when he played in VRL. And Mr. Fallen just stepped up whenever Kiwi didn't. So I really like that foot roster. I just don't know if they can translate into tier 1. Who knows? But
we'll see.
I can't lie. It's looking pretty good. It's nice to have a big event run by a big organizer as well. It looks like it should be a big spectacle. So I'm hoping it all pulls off with no hitches and all the rest. So looking good though. I'm excited for it. But aside from that is more or less everything that is kind of worth talking about in the off season. I mean, obviously, thankfully, we're getting towards the end of the off-season. We've only got a little bit of time. And, of course, part of that time is Christmas. So we don't really need to do too much Valorant over Christmas. We can spend time with your loved ones. But we are getting there. But that is us done and dusted. So, Matt, anything you've got coming up over the next, I guess, probably, we'll do another these in about 2 weeks' time. But anything you got coming up over the next couple of weeks? Or is it a little bit barren?
A little bit barren, yeah.
A little bit barren, yeah.
We're chilling now. I don't think there's like one thing I had got cancelled because
what was that?
Lack of funding. It was a Apex Legends tournament, but it got cancelled. Nothing Valorant related right now. So we're just chilling. My Christmas period has started.
Yes, yeah.
But that means I've got lots of time to plan for stuff coming up next year. And I think me and Neo have some stuff. Very much in store for you. I don't think we can talk about anything.
We'll keep it down low.
But there's some exciting stuff with me and Neo involved.
Exactly.
So I think,
And if all goes to plan, you'll see a lot more of us, is what we're saying. So
So look forward to next year for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's about it for me.
When we get back into the casting grind, into the tier 2 scene next year, I think it all starts off about, is it Jan? Or no, Feb, I think.
No, it should be.
Oh no, it's Jan. Yeah, mid-Jan. Yeah, so
somewhere around
mid-Jan, you probably should see our faces somewhere. There'll be some somewhat exciting stuff. Hopefully, if all goes to plan. I mean, we'll still do stuff regardless if the plan falls through. You'll still see our faces doing some pretty cool ideas around that. But aside from that, that is it. I mean, I've got some CS stuff. That's about it, really. I mean, both CS and Val are going into the Christmas period right now, so there isn't really too much on the cards. But no, it's not too shabby. It is a quiet period, but it's a good opportunity to do more content as well, which is what we probably would do more of. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is us done and dusted. It has been a mammoth episode. I mean, I think we're kind of just over 3 hours now, so we are. It's a long one. So if you've done this in one sitting, credit. That's a lot of credit to you.
Wow. Well done.
I implore you. But I appreciate people sticking around for what was. There's a lot to talk about. You know, we've been away for a month, so we had a lot of catching up to do. And funny enough, the month that we were away happened to be the busiest month that we've had since VCT was even announced. So. Yeah, but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you again. Make sure to, subscribe, like, all the good stuff. Check out our socials are below, myself and Twiggy's, both in the bio. You can see our ats below our head. Until next time, which will be roughly about 2 weeks' time. Hopefully there's some more stuff to talk about. Potentially there might be.
Or we'll just rant.
An hour. Exactly. Which got diluted. We never know.
I mean, you're going to have to get used to our voices if you're watching.
Exactly.
VALORANT anyway, so hey.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you all very soon. Peace out.